Hello and welcome to the Video Game Dads podcast. This is episode 66.
Boom, boom.
Everyone's like, oh, what does that mean? Do we have to say 66? Yes, 66. It's one number away from a terrible number. Thank you for joining us.
3 from a great number.
Hey! I love it. Oh, speaking of, this is a family-friendly podcast, but no promises there wouldn't be some adult jokes, a little innuendo. That's a great example. But also, if you know what it is, if you're old enough to know, you're old enough to know.
That's
and all
right.
these kids are like, 63? Does that mean the S word? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, guys, we are amateur, family-friendly, believe it or not, podcast where 3 guys in a basement talk gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between. And we're starting off with a lie because there's 4 guys in a garage right now. That's how we roll. We are your hosts. I am Ben.
I'm Adam.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Michael.
Yeah, all right, that's us. And then you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/videogamedads. You can also email us. Where can you email us, Adam?
Videogamedads@yahoo.com.
That's right, videogamedads@yahoo.com.
The last Yahoo email address.
Yeah, and that exists. That if you want to keep using it, you have to pay extra. I forgot about that. I probably have my reoccurring fee coming soon. It's like every year, you want to forward stuff because we know you want to forward from Yahoo. Well, it's going to cost you. We got to keep that legacy going. What if someone goes back 10 years from now and wants to email when they hear the first 40? So we're stuck with it, and Yahoo knows it.
And if you're not supporting Yahoo, you know, who is, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Upholding the whole business right now.
Yeah.
That's my junk email that I give solicitors. Yeah.
I would do it too.
Yeah.
Alta Vista? You have one of those? Or
just a Hotmail.
Somebody gave me an AOL address the other day.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, how old are you?
Were they over 60?
If you have an AOL
Yeah,
address,
they were actually,
Yeah,
I
that's
assume
fine.
you're getting your internet from discs if you have an
Yeah,
AOL
exactly.
address.
Yeah, used to me. Yeah.
It's like a here's a 3.5 diskette. Just type whatever you want to tell me on this, and then hand it back to me when you see me next week.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You've got mail.
You've got
I
mail.
love that. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. You can also tweet at us at Videogame Dads. We do have an Instagram as well. You can find us with that same name. We like to keep that name nice and easy for you to search. If this is the first time listening to us, thanks. You got a nice backlog to come check out. We appreciate everybody who comes and listens to us. So we're gonna we started our top 100. We got a couple emails. We'll go through those. Of course, if you give us any iTunes reviews, we read those right on the air. And let us know if you left us a review at wherever you happen to listen to this podcast. We appreciate it. And remember, it's worth the price of free. So we will continue our top 100, which we started last week, which I think was a roaring success. What do you guys think?
Roaring.
Roaring. That's hard to say, right?
Roaring.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
crowd definitely went wild.
Yeah, Katy Perry made a whole song about that, too. Did you know that?
No.
Yep, sure did. Have you ever seen Katy Perry trying to surf? That's a video
I've
you should
not.
look up.
I
It's
have
pretty
not.
fun. She went on one of those surf rides that's like one of those where it's
Oh,
not...
like
It's like on a cruise ship where it's like water that goes up your nose or makes your pants fall off and stuff. She bit it really hard. And, of course, like doing that in front of paparazzi, that's, of course, going to happen. So check out that video if you want a nice laugh. All right. We also go on tangents, if you didn't know that. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We did some nice summer vacations. Adam went on a great one. We'll talk about what's been new and happening with our kids. It will be time to go back to school soon. What games we're playing. Of course, our patent pending Videogame Book Club, our 2 titles by the name of Connectica and Low G-Man, and much, much more. What do you guys say? Why don't we start out with our Video Game Book Club? What do you say?
Sounds
do it.
good.
Stellar.
All right.
Look at this. The marijuana can mess you up. Right. We've been getting high for what? 15 years? Nothing's ever happened. Did I get into other drugs and start mugging people? Nah. Didn't do anything. In fact, I'd say I'm exactly the same as when I smoked my first joint.
Eddie, did you even look for a job today?
No, Ma.
Marijuana can make nothing happen to you, too.
All right. Well, keep that in mind, folks. That was it's really nice. It's our first sponsor direct from the government. You know, the feds helped us out with that.
That's right.
nothing can happen to you too. Keep that in mind. So lesson learned, right?
We are your tax dollars at work now.
That's right.
Unless you're in one of those 20 states where that doesn't play, I guess, anymore. But back in the day, we had a lot of them.
Yeah, this is your brain.
Yeah. And then we were talking that too, like Reefer Madness. Like I hope kids get to go back and watch this. My favorite was the one, I don't know if you guys ever saw. It had like the Ninja Turtles. It had like Scooby-Doo and the Bears, and it was like a 30-minute anti-drug cartoon that I had on VHS. And I think now on VHS it's like $100 or something because it's like so rare. I forget.
Did you guys have the people that came to your school and talked, like Dare?
We had Dare at our school.
Yeah, they would always have like some guy show up, and he'd be like that Dave Chappelle skit or whatever.
Yep.
Where he'd be like, "Don't do drugs, kids. You'll see cartoon characters, and you'll be."
Yeah.
It's terrible. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they proved like how expensive Dare was, and how Dare like didn't work at all.
No.
Yeah. If anything, it didn't.
I just remember going
worse.
to him and just feeling like really depressed for the guy because they
Ours
always
was a cop.
Yeah, ours was a real
yeah, they would.
officer.
We would always have like it was a different person like every year, every 6 months, or however frequently they did it. But I always remember like feeling really bad for the person who was like the druggie or whatever that came to give their testimonial.
I was
and I just remember feeling like it was like super awkward. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
I have a kind of a funny story where my buddy got introduced to this girl from another school, and he went to go pick her up to take her to one of our dances at our high school. And when he opens the door to go pick her up, the guy who opens the door was our DARE officer from elementary school. Oh. So his date was the DARE officer's daughter.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the weirdest one that we had was it was like in high school, and they actually towed a car out that supposedly like some teenagers got in a drunk driving wreck and died.
Oh, yeah.
Like they actually towed the car out to show you the car.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know what the effect was necessarily, but it was kind of morbid. You know what I mean? Where it was like, oh yeah, here's like this car that these people died on.
Oh, well, maybe that means it worked on.
Maybe it was. I mean, I wasn't. I guess I probably wasn't their target audience. You know, I suppose.
Well, you never know. Maybe you were.
But I just remember thinking like, wow, man, if that was like one of my family members that died in that thing, like I really wouldn't want them towing the car around, showing it to everyone.
That's true.
Oh,
but,
I guess.
But maybe they had talked to the family before
bet
doing it.
They had to have.
I guess they would to get the vehicle, but I just remember like. Again, just feeling bad for everybody that was involved.
See that, Adam? That makes you feel. It sounds like it worked on you. I have the exact opposite. Yeah. Not like it was like, hey, by the way, now I'm the one that has to give talks. No. I didn't slip down the rabbit hole of the hardcore drugs. But what I did notice was like DARE confused me in terms of wait, drugs are bad because they brought a druggie's car, like evidently this big drug dealer's car, and they brought it. And then had DARE on the side of it, and they kept saying this was a drug, and it was an awesome red.
It was like an Escalade with like speakers hanging out of it, like LCD screens.
This is '94. We didn't have LCD screens back then.
Like dancing poles on top.
No, it was a bright red Corvette, and they were like, "This was a drug dealer's car," and I was like, "That's a pretty cool car." And I like didn't really put together because I didn't see the guy that got thrown in jail. All they showed was the fruits
cool
of
car.
his labor.
Yeah.
Well, they led with the car. That was their first mistake.
Yeah, and then of course I've said this on the podcast before.
Did they show you pictures of his house?
Yeah. Well, I think I've said this on the podcast before. My DARE officer actually got arrested. Did I tell this story?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so he, I can't say his name. Well, I guess I could. It wouldn't matter. But anyway, he was Officer something. And he was, I saw his mugshot like 5 years later on the TV for assaulting a prisoner that I guess like kicked him when he was getting him out of the back of a van, like one of the police vans in the parking lot. And I guess the guy kind of kicked him. Well, he kind of overstepped and smashed his head in the door like 6 times. The guy didn't that, like the guy tried to say like, oh, you beat him up, and then you saw it, like they showed the video, and this is like early mid 90s where you never really saw cops like getting in.
Whenever you did see security cam video in the 90s, it was like the fuzzy
black and
character
white.
number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
fuzzy
was.
character number 2.
It was.
And they were
super-
normally in the police station.
Yeah.
Like those cams.
Yeah, but I saw it, and so Sean, you were going to say something?
I was from such a rural area, and I was a pretty sheltered kid. I don't think I knew what a drug was till Derek came to my school.
That's the way I was. Yeah,
like which wasn't a thing. And
that's what I mean. I remember I was like 4th or 5th grade, and then they come they start talking about like, oh, you know, I got hooked on cocaine, and you know, and then I murdered my family, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm still watching like Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? Like, what are you guys talking about?
So
this
the
is
Foot
like
Clan is real?
Well, no, but I mean seriously, I remember like that being my first exposure. Like all this stuff was like way above my experience level, I guess, at that time.
Scared straight.
Yeah, but I didn't even need to be like, I wasn't even aware these things were happening in the world. You know what I mean? Until Derek came in and taught me about them.
Ours was very weed centric at the time, and I just remember like I had never seen a cigarette that wasn't just a cigarette that I knew about. So I go to like my family owned bar, and at that time everybody in there was smoking cigarettes, and I'm looking around, I was like, is that weed? Is that weed?
That's true.
That's when you became a narc.
That's what I mean. Telling grandma and all the people. Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. I do remember anytime they'd show like, okay, this is what drugs look like to stay away, and it was always like a joint that looked like toilet paper, and then like these little baggies that had like, I don't know, like chiclets in it and stuff. So I was thinking like, oh, like these Smarties look like drugs, and I didn't realize that. Did the person who made Smarties realize that? Like that's what was going through my head all the time.
Yeah, no, but I do remember that a little bit, like starting to get suspicious of people. You know? Yeah. Like after that happened, being like, wonder about that. You know, everybody has that crazy uncle, or whatever. Like, you know, I wonder if Uncle Bob's doing the weed.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like in your church, and Grandma's popping those butterscotch all the time, and it looks like, I'm like, what is that butterscotch? You never can see it.
It's unmarked too. Those little butterscotch discs. They don't have labels.
Yeah. Well, they did that, and I remember they did the thing too, where like at Halloween, you know, don't eat any candy out of little baggies, you know, and all this kind of thing. And,
do you remember the razor blade scare thing they always do? They'd be like, okay, not only that, look for the tiniest holes, because they put razor blades and pins in your taffy. And I'm like, who the heck gives out taffy? Okay. Yeah. So they basically said, if you ever get taffy, throw it away. I'm like, done. I've been doing that my whole life.
They're always talking about like cocaine and pixie sticks, but like what respectable person would waste all that? Like, it seems like a lot of money to like put into pixie sticks for a joke or whatever. Like, I don't know what kind of like cocaine.
Well, that was the thing that always got me too. They'd be like, I remember one of the Dare things, they showed like a brick, you know, of like coke or something that they had confiscated, and they're like, there it is, kids. That is $14 billion worth of cocaine. I mean, that was came up with like these crazy numbers, and I'm like, but you just told me like all the people that don't have any money and are homeless or whatever are the ones doing it, and now you're like that thing's $14 billion, and it's like every time on TV they're like, we have a new drug bust, and then we pulled over a semi. Yeah, we pulled over a semi that had $19 trillion worth of marijuana in it, you know, and I'm just wondering where they're getting their data from, is all.
Exactly.
You know?
And then I'm also wondering, how do you even dispose of that? You can't put it down the drain.
They burn it.
All your fish?
Yeah, they do.
They burn it in like a field or wherever far away from people.
Good to know.
Yeah, back.
And they don't let people go near it. I saw a YouTube video on it.
Did you? That's interesting.
Yeah, they found like growers growing. Well, back in Oklahoma before it was legal, people would have like grow fields or whatever, and they would go out, just bulldoze the whole thing, put it all in a pile, and burn it.
So anyway, don't do drugs, or unless it's legal in your state. I don't know what the moral of the story is, but we thank that sponsor.
Yeah, thank you, U.S. government.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
The Ad Council.
Yeah, thank you so much. So anyway, our Video Game Book Club is where you'll pick out a game not in the top 15-20% of whatever respective library that game is from, for NES in this case, or PlayStation 2. So it can't be super popular like the Grand Theft Autos, the Zeldas, the Marios, those kind of things, or like Wario World on Virtual Boy. It's kind of hard to determine the top 15%. But then we, much like a book club, play it in between episodes and then talk about it. A dad gets to pick a game and you get to pick one too. We aren't stuck on one certain system. You can go across the board. You just email us. Let us know a little bit about a game that you want nominated. We can always continually have more added to our pool. So, last time we had Connectica. That was Sean's dad pick for the PlayStation 2. And we had Low G-Man for the NES, which was submitted by Billy, one of our listeners back in 2017. Hopefully still a listener in 2000. What are we at? 22?
Yep.
Wow.
Allegedly.
Gosh. Time flies, right? So which one should we talk about first?
Let's do Connectica first.
Connectica. Okay. All right, let's do it. All right, what you got on it?
All right, so Connectica, let me pull up my handy-dandy internet here. So Connectica is a video game released on the PS2, developed by Santa Monica Studios, so it's like a first-party type affair, released in October of 2001.
Yep.
For the PS2.
I remember.
And I'll go ahead and get the prices out of the way too. This is a cheap game. A loose copy will run you $5 or so. A complete copy will run you about $10.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
Always been inexpensive. Yeah, I remember I got this at a price drop. I got it new for $20 probably in 2002, or right around after, like not too long after it released. But yeah, you picked this one, Sean. What made you pick it?
If you'll let me take a 1-minute stroll down memory lane.
Yeah,
it was probably 2004. I think I was a freshman in high school. And on Fridays, I live in the country. There's only like one kid within 5 miles that knew what a PlayStation 2 was. And I'd go to his house on Fridays. And one time I pointed to this game and I was like, hey, what's Connectica? And he's like, it's this kind of like cool racing game. We played it like 8 straight hours. We loved it. We had like our whole 2 liters of Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew. And then it was like the very next week, I was like, hey, man, we got to play this again next week. He's like, yeah, it's going to be great. It was the very next week that he got Grand Theft Auto Vice City. We never picked up Connectica again. But with just thinking back to, like, at least in that one night that I played it for, like, 8 straight hours overnight, I remembered it being extremely good and then basically had not thought about it again until last month. So, 20 years ago almost.
Yeah, it's definitely not in the top. I love how it's like a Sony kind of first party release. I know you've got some stats on it. I love they made their own engine. Some interesting facts are God of War and a couple other notable games used this engine of this racing game.
I realized that God of War is Sony Santa Monica, but I didn't realize it was the same engine.
Well, for 2001, it's a very good-looking game, so it does kind of make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that, like, God of War, that game runs so well, ran on the engine of this kind of middling, racing game that never got a sequel. It's quite interesting.
SOCOM, it says, actually used the same. Yeah, SOCOM, U.S. Navy SEALs, God of War, and God of War 2 all ran on this engine.
Obviously is like, has this and my only thought is this, the engine had to be so particular because, we should talk about what this is. This is a futuristic, racing game where, unlike a lot of these where you're in a car or a pod, you are just basically a person that has an exosuit that kind of looks like a vehicle, like a motorcycle. So you're more or less got metal limbs attached with wheels. And
like
there's
a better looking Inspector Gadget. Like when he turns into a car.
I was actually thinking of like the Batman Dark Knight trilogy, the little the little motorcycle thing that pops out of the Batmobile.
What's the Olympic event where you're just like one person on a sled? It's like that, but you're on your belly with wheels.
Oh, the skeleton sled.
The skeleton,
the skeleton they call it.
This is sci-fi skeleton racing, that's all.
Yeah, except imagine the blades attached to your hands and stuff, like it being way more dangerous. And, the funny thing about this, the eye-catching thing in the early 2000s, let's just get around to it. There's men and women. I think there's like 6 or 7 women and like 5 guys. And all the women are dressed basically almost in their underwear. I call this kind of booty racing because the women are kind of scantily clad. And when you're, driving this thing and you're looking, you're basically kind of in an all-fours position. So... they don't do that with the boys. The boys, you just see like metal and hunks and chunks and this kind of thing. But there's definitely some G-strings. We'll just say that if you're thinking about buying this for your kids, I guess. But it is rated T for teen. Yeah. That's all they do.
They're fully covered.
It's basically like comic book type art.
I'm going to get this confused with Low G-Man. We were talking about G-strings there. I was trying to make a joke. I don't know if it worked out.
No, that worked as far as a dad joke.
Yeah. You wouldn't get that from the cover, though. The cover is like a couple of, like, I think the metal
looks
racers.
Pretty serious on the cover.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit there. There's a little bit there if you know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But what's great is this. I have my original copy, and I have it right here. The art book is still here. I don't know if you saw it, but, like, it's freaking great. The art in this and the style is just like awesome. And I was gravitated toward this because I saw previews of it on PlayStation Underground. I think you can even see the video preview of Kinetica on PlayStation Underground to this day on YouTube. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I guess before we talk, because I played it a lot and you played it a lot. And what were kind of your takes on it, Adam and Michael? What you?
I liked it. It's not normally my type of game.
Sure.
But I thought the way it was really fluid when you played. The movement was good. The courses were really cool because you don't have to take like one certain path, and you do like 360s, and it changed up. It wasn't.
There's like the tubes, there's straight tracks like Wipeout, but then there's tubes like what you see in like F-Zero GX.
Yes.
Where it's like a 360-degree surface, kind of thing.
It's almost disorienting.
Yeah,
because you can go up a building, you go left and right, and that was the thing from the get-go. Like, at any point, I wasn't getting like dizzy, but I definitely had trouble like with my spatial awareness at times playing this back in the day, and then replaying it. Like I think the game is like really unique, and I even love the control style. So for those who haven't played it, the control style was. This is kind of back when everybody like shooters and everything now, right trigger or the right bumper is how you accelerate, left trigger is how you brake. In this one, since it has the dual analog stick of the PS2, the right analog stick is your acceleration or your gas, your velocity, whatever, and then your left is your steering. So you're just using your gas and everything. Most of your buttons are just using those control sticks for turning. And if you do a really hard, sharp turn, literally their arms come apart like you would when you see those people doing those, like, going downhill on the mountain really fast or whatever that's called. I don't know what the heck that sport is.
Like the slalom?
Yeah, whatever. Well, it seems like it's almost illegal. It's like when they're on a it looks like just an office chair attached to wheels, and they're, like, going down a big country hill, a wooded hill or something. I don't know what it is. It's illegal is what it probably is. But anyway... there's weighted characters. The ladies are usually a lot more agile, and the guys, there's not really like weapons or things you can do to hurt people, but you can bump into them. So it's kind of like
it's like a roller derby.
Yeah, I think it's like Road Rash meets F-Zero is kind of what I was thinking. I love like sci-fi futuristic things, and I like the fact that it's kind of like a sexy game. Like it's super like. Kind of like what you said, like the girls kind of look like roller girls, I guess you could say that if you've ever seen any of that stuff.
I mean, these games, this feels kind of like a Sony wanting to make a first party Wipeout kind of so to speak. Around this time, and I guess I never really I think this game sold pretty well because it's readily available and fairly cheap, but But there was sort of this glut of kind of these hypno-track, techno, futuristic racing games. So Nintendo had your F-Zeros, but I remember on Nintendo 64 there was Extreme G, Extreme G2, Extreme G3. I'm trying to think of all the others.
The Wipeout.
Wipeout series. But there were some others too on PC and everything else. And I think maybe... depending on, a lot of people are Wipeout fans. I'm a big Wipeout fan, but always the frustration with Wipeout is sort of the floatiness of the controls because you have F-Zero too to some extent, although not as much as Wipeout. This one, the controls feel much more grounded because you're on the ground than what those would, and it's also less weapons based.
Yeah.
Than what it's more,
It's just
traditional arcade racing than hoping that you get the right pickup and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I like that you can do stunts. And what I'm not a fan of is when racing games incorporate like, you have to place high, but you also have to score a lot of points. That usually doesn't do well with me. Like I like things like Tricky and what's the skateboarder, the big Tony Hawk. Mm-hmm. But like Tony Hawk, for the most part, he's done some racing like Downhill Jam. But it's all about how many points you can accumulate. And then you like do all these things and you don't stick the landing, you get 0 points and you basically can't win. I like that basically if you're doing moves here, you can do boost moves, you can hit boost like pads, and then when you're jumping up in the air and you do a couple of their moves to like unlock, and these moves are kind of like dancing, like the developers, I remember saying like they drew inspiration from like ice skaters, ice dancer, like certain like fluid movements and things like that, or like what are those people who are like in water that do it, like
synchronized swimmers?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like they do all these quick moves that they like sped up, and they looked at that as far as like and the ribbon dancing stuff. So the ladies will do these things real quick, and if you do it, you get a like 10% boost when you hit the ground. So I appreciate that it is like, hey, you need a place early to get through. But something, I don't know if you guys had, what I didn't like about it back in the day, and I remembered now, and I couldn't put it to words, was I couldn't tell where I was and where other racers are, if they're right on my tail or I'm about to get up to them, until they were right there. Because all I'm focused on is basically staying on the track and myself. A lot of times when I'm in a racing game, I see the other driver and I think about, okay, I'll probably catch him in 2 turns, or this guy's going to catch me if I hit this turn wrong. But because the angle and all of a sudden you're going up a hill or you're going straight and you're kinetically attached to the track, you'll basically go straight, see nothing, curve around and go somewhere else. Like I couldn't sense where the other racers were a lot of times. I would try to go as fast as I can, but like if I'm winning, I can't tell if I'm that far ahead or that below, because I'm just like so focused on getting through the whole thing, if that makes any sense.
You articulated it way better than I could have, but there were several things, maybe, and that was definitely one of them, that made it, I thought, a little harder than I remembered it, or a little harder than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just me, but surprisingly hard, I thought, when I tried to pick it back up this time.
Well, mine was that on like some of the 3D tracks and that kind of thing, it has a very dark color palette.
Yeah.
Generally,
that's PlayStation 2.
And which is PlayStation
Browns
2, kind of in a nutshell. But like, especially like the 3D patterns, sometimes it was kind of hard to stay oriented on how you entered that portion of the track. So like in F-Zero, what they would do is you would have a 3D cylinder, but you would have a reference background like the ground or the sky, or they would put a line on the tube so you would know like, okay, this is the bottom of where you entered or where you're going to exit. That's going to be the bottom. And on this, a lot of the time, it's very similar textures all the way around you in 360 degrees. So you end up kind of doing this sort of spiral motion, or taking maybe not the greatest line through that section of the course, because you lose your orientation through that. And maybe some of that's by design.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's some games that have done that and done a good job of being like, okay, yeah, you can move around 360 degrees, but you're trying to go the shortest distance possible as fast as you can, so here's a reference point.
Right.
So I feel like that was something that was a little bit lacking. It's not a huge gripe or anything, but versus other, fast racers, like this, and even like Episode 1 racer, that kind of thing, you always felt grounded and had like an orientation. Okay, that's top, that's bottom, gravity is this way, that type of thing.
What you just described hit me the hardest, where like paths would break or where you had branching options, and I feel like I would always like get a terrible angle on whichever one I was actually picking.
Yeah.
Just sort of based on that sort of lack of orientation that you're describing.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like exactly what you deal with in something that us dads don't have time for, the first 3 hours of figuring a game out. And a game like this, it's track memorization. You get good at it by like doing the stuff that like Michael did on Tiger Woods Golf for the Wii. You get good at it. And this is a game you can get good at, but the cost is it's going to take you a while. Also, the tracks, even though you kind of pick one racer to go through, you almost need to like pick certain racers. Like I really liked Ava, and I think her name's Cira, Cira. Doesn't hurt. She was one of the G-string people. The red G-string, if that helps anybody, I think. But also, I would be able to choose like his name was Scratch or something. Like when it's a tighter race, like the 4th or 5th one on the career mode or whatever, the Grand Prix, it's such a narrow angle. Like I would get bumped and pushed around. I would choose one of the guys to get through it. So it really, what I like about it is like it matters what the stats are on your driver to be if they're good. And I kind of think like if you pick the wrong person to get good at, that can make all the races so hard. Because I was having trouble with one of the races over and over, and I switched to a different character I normally wouldn't be, and I like got first immediately.
And in that way, this game is a lot like a lot of other racers in the genre. It's pretty easy to pick up and play. It's difficult to get good at.
Yeah.
I mean, F-Zero is definitely that way. Wipeout's definitely that way.
Yep.
You know, Wipeout, you got to play those tracks over and over and over and figure out where the speed beasts are, the speed boosts are, and where the secret areas are, and all that kind of thing to get good at it. And this has that same sort of, you have to repeat it. You have to kind of know what you're doing and where you're going, and have some familiarity with it to be quote unquote good.
Yeah, this is all about, and I think that's the big selling point is the style on this. Like the style, the music. It's a lot of like electronica, trance, house kind of like music where it's like nothing's like things you've probably heard before, but it fits with the aesthetic of it. Which, again, I really love the aesthetic. Like, I love this kind of look. I love a futuristic, because I think about, like, how do they get home? How do they get out of their suits? Why do they, again, like, since they're not, I guess they don't fall on their booty very much because they're not wearing any pants on their booty.
It's to reduce drag.
That makes sense. Yeah, but also it's like metal, too, so it's like that has to be uncomfortable. I'm sure I'm overthinking it.
It's honestly though, if you were going like 400 miles an hour with your butt cheeks sticking out,
yeah,
it would be more like it'd be more like the cartoon or the guy in like the guy in like the G-force simulator, like in the Air Force, where your face is all smashed back. Yeah, it probably wouldn't look exactly like this.
I know, instead of the zoom,
there'd probably be a little bit more flapping and smashing.
I know, yeah. That's what I'm saying, because like we think about that and you think of a zoom going by, zoom, it'd be more.
Yeah. I'm just gonna assume that nobody's butt looks good going 400 miles an hour.
That's funny. Yeah, especially in the polygons of the PS2. I like. It's funny. You can, just so you guys know, this randomly is a PS2 game you can digitally download on the PS4. I tried to see. I couldn't log in. I tried to see how much it costs. Hopefully $9.99 or less. Otherwise, it wouldn't make much sense. I played this on the PS2. Same with all you guys, right? Someone played it. Yeah. So it'd be kind of cool to see it on the PS4. I have no need to do that again because I have it on the PS2. It probably looks a little bit better on the PS4. As far as like the gameplay, I think it's worth mentioning too. There's not a lot of modes to this. There's not a lot to. You can unlock a few characters. I think 3 characters are hidden. I never got the final guy that's supposedly amazing, where all his stats are head up. He's like half man, half like. Or it's like, say, like 80% of him is
like half
machine.
Man, half bear, half pig.
Yeah. No, he's just like mainly a machine. He kind of looks like a scorpion or something. I never unlocked him. I forget what his name is, but you can practice, but there's no tutorial mode, so you're just kind of thrown in it. So the best thing to do is just do a time trial. I didn't do multiplayer because unfortunately I think the multiplayer is left and right, not horizontal.
A lot of new systems are that way. I mean, it's like tangent.
Yeah.
But Crash Team Racing, I think, is that way. The new Mario Kart is that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, horizontal partition, not vertical, horizontal.
Yeah.
I want to be able to see wider than just like the track in front of me.
Yeah, because it's an N gauge.
I wonder if widescreen increase the number of games that are like
that. It is. I think it's a higher performance hit to do horizontal split. But
feels like it would.
Dude, just get rid of some polygons or something, but make that thing horizontal.
Yeah, because like that. I mean, can you imagine the old Mario Kart 64 being a vertical split?
That's what I'm saying, man. I that's why I don't like any of the multiplayer on the new Mario Karts.
Yeah.
Like 64 Mario Kart still has a better multiplayer because of the horizontal split.
Yeah. Well, this was a fun. I mean, for me, I don't know what else you got. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with Connectica, Sean?
I can't get over how much I loved how it's not the smoothest scrolling game in the world, but I thought it for the age of the game and the PS2 being what it is and how fast it made you feel like you're going, just the scrolling through very good looking tracks and track design.
Yeah, the track design is great, and it doesn't have any hiccups. It's funny, like when you think more PS4 and the newer games, how much things chug. This game doesn't chug along, like it goes really, really fast.
It's that emotion engine or whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Or no, wait, is it emotion engine's PS3, isn't it?
No, it's 2.
Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah. The cell processor.
It gave me emotions for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I bet a lot of these games when you're a little kid. I mean, I'm sure it sells. Call it flatulence. That might give you a speed boost. They missed out letting the speed boost be something else. All right. Well, see, you can't say your joke, Sean, earlier was bad. Mine fell flat as well. But anyway, it's an awesome racer. I don't think this would get made, or at least a sequel would be kind of different, if you know what I'm saying. There'd be a little less TNA, but honestly, that's not what the whole...
Or maybe more TNA.
Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I think less. But we know what you're hoping for there.
Well, I mean,
remaster.
Yeah, Connectica, BMX XXX. I think this is a fun game. It's a low barrier to entry. If you like racers, give it a try. If you like futuristic racers, give it a try. If you don't. I would say, but I think it's a fun book club pick.
Yeah, it's a good game for $10.
Yeah. And I think it's super intriguing to have your body as a vehicle. I mean, it's worth the price of admission. The gameplay's good. Like you were saying, Sean, the layout of the tracks is really good, but it takes a while to get good at it. It's not a pick up and play. It's not like Sonic Transformed where you're just gonna punch through it. You gotta get good at it, and if you don't play it for a couple of years, you're gonna get bad again. So anyway, guys, what do you guys want to rate it? We do a rating of baby bottles. It's very arbitrary, and a lot of times we change our rating scale for no reason whatsoever, so just take it with a grain of salt, but also know it's set in stone. Michael, what would you give this rating of a baby bottles? 0 to 5?
Since it's not really my kind of game, but it was enjoyable to play, I'm gonna go with 3.5.
Okay, 3.5. What about you, Sean? Your pick here?
Couldn't be happier we actually played this and that you guys played this with me. Like, instantly transported me back, but just not being able to kind of get good enough at it to, like, relive those glory days. So I'll go 4 baby bottles.
4, yeah.
I'm going to do... this is out of 4 baby bottles, right?
Oh, is it?
5.
5.
Is that a 5 baby bottles?
Sometimes it was out of 4 back in the early days.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I thought it's always been 5.
I don't know.
I think it's been 5.
So I will give this a 3.75 baby bottle.
Okay. All right. Splitting that
A 3/4, yeah.
All right. And since I played it back in the day, I guess I'm a little biased, just like Sean. I will go ahead and also give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's a fun game, and I kind of like the fact that there hasn't been another one. So, and there hasn't been a game quite like it since, with all the copying going around.
They need to do a PlayStation All-Stars version of this. They need to have Kratos and
humanoid Sony characters.
And Ava Switchblade. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Half Kratos, half tricycle.
Half pig.
Well, make sure if you pick it up, pick up the copy that has the art book in it, because they all came with the art book inside. So look for 2 little baby manuals in it if you want to add this to your collection. Okay. Well, with that being said, we always have this little segment called Back of the Box. So if we saw this at Blockbuster or your local grocery store, wherever you rented games, because PS2, we were still renting games in the PS2 days, just barely. All right, Back of the Box. Racing has evolved. Introducing kinetic suits engineered to provide maximum speed and maneuverability. Slip into a kinetic suit or step into it like a bathing suit. Harness the ability, slip into the suit and harness the ability to scale walls, execute intricate stunts, and reach terminal velocity. Pure speed never looked so good. Pure arcade racing action. These are the little bullet points. 9 unique kinetic suits. 12 intricately designed anti-gravity tracks. Execute breathtaking ground and aerial stunts. Boost strips and power-ups. Intensify the levels of competition. Utilize advanced racing tactics with siphon boots, shortcuts, and drafting. Oh, and by the way, the ladies aren't bad to look at. I'm just kidding. I added that part at the end. Just because of the whole... Remember last time when we did NFL Blitz? And they're like, by the way, you're going to get long-term concussion. And how I joked about that? Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So funny. So this one, Back of the Box, basically... This is when Back of the Boxes weren't as austere. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
This one was very concrete.
Yeah. It wasn't as weird as the NES ones. But anyway, that's the Back of the Box for Connectica. It doesn't lie. Great game. Let's move on. Low G-Man for the NES, our listener pick.
All right. So this is Low G-Man. And G stands for gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So if you actually read the label, it's the Low Gravity Man.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess these should actually be in the title, but anyway, Low G Man, the Low Gravity Man.
I always thought the box art and stuff was so funny.
It is. It's very. It looks like Save Brand game or something.
Yeah. You're right.
It's like it's like this. Yellowish, just nondescript.
Yep.
Nothing balls cover.
Like it's going to be a terrible movie.
Yeah, it's got like it's got some feet hanging off the top of it, and that's like it. It's
Yeah.
just this big, solid. Honestly, I don't know.
Those are feet. I never knew that. I thought it was a scratch. Every time I saw it,
no,
I
it's
thought it was
feet.
like,
That's his feet because he's
Jumped so high.
Gravity
He's out of
jumping
the
off the label.
it just makes me think like they realized it late in production. They're just like, oh,
but
crap.
it gives you no idea what the game's even about.
You're right.
I don't know what the worst NES cover art is.
Yeah.
Maybe Ghost Lion.
No, but that's
No,
but it's good.
Are you talking about the
Best
best? I was like,
cover art.
what?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the best one?
Yeah, but Low G Man, literally, it's got to be in the discussion for worst NES cover art.
Yeah,
out of
that's
any
true.
of the games.
That's a fact.
it's up there.
But anywho, this was developed by KID, and published by Taxan in North America and Nintendo actually over in Europe. I guess this didn't have a Japanese release, so this was an outside of Japan release, which is weird because the programmers and composers all have Japanese names. So correct me if I'm wrong, but at least Wikipedia only has North American and EU release dates of 1990 for North America and 91 for Europe.
I can't say otherwise, so I will agree.
I wonder if they stopped releasing in Japan by then.
Maybe.
NES, by 91,
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
because they had
90
the Super Nintendo normally a little earlier.
And PC Engine would have been rocking by that point too.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it didn't come out over there. But in any respect, this is a sci-fi action platformer game, and it's kind of hard to describe, more or less. But you're a dude that is apparently not so susceptible to gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If you thought Luigi and Mario 2 could jump high, just wait.
yeah, and I guess I don't remember hearing much about this game back in the day, or even I don't even remember seeing it in the stores. It's probably because I didn't pay any attention to it because of this label, to be honest.
Yeah.
But this is another one of these sort of action platformers that came out for the NES in kind of its mid to later years, and it probably just got kind of lost, honestly, in all this,
it was
because
late release.
Vice Project Doom, Shatterhand, Mega Man, like there were a lot of other games in this genre that I kind of remember a little bit better. Oh, here's something interesting. Not to interrupt myself, but Ken Lobb is listed as the designer. He's the guy that ran the Nintendo Treehouse in North America. He's kind of a famous Nintendo guy.
Yeah.
He's also the guy that's somewhat responsible for making Killer Instinct. Ken Lobb is.
Nice.
Sorry. But in any respect, this is an action platformer where you basically run and gun, shoot things, but the interesting thing about the gun is it doesn't really kill the enemy. It freezes them, and then you have to spear them to death. After
Yeah. I thought that was a weird weapon, and I couldn't figure out what it was. It looks like a shovel on a string
I think
that
it's
you
a
drop.
spear. I'm not even 100% sure of that. And there are pickups, bombs and boomerangs and various things too. But the pickups are kind of short lived. But yeah, that's your main weapon.
Yeah, that's the big thing that differentiates it from, say, like Metroid or anything else. You're used to shooting something, it blows up. This, you find out quickly, what you said, it freezes the enemy, which in turn you can either run by them or kill them. That's definitely a choice. I still don't know to this day if it's better or worse. We could talk about that, but as you're describing it, I think what's funny is the backstory. If you read the manual and read the story of it, it's much like, not to go on a side tangent, Adam and I are fans of the Alien series, and you told me to watch Alien Covenant because you're like, it's good, and I was like, all I heard is it's bad, and then I find out oh, it is good, I love it. Same kind of thing though that happens in these new Alien movies of Prometheus. If you haven't seen them, spoiler alert, the humans are trying to colonize other places because they've messed up. Much like, what potentially some people think are happening to our society. We're doing so poorly. Best we could do is go in and mess up somebody else. That's what, Low G Man, they basically say, we're having to colonize, and we found this other place with all these, aliens, and they've taken over robots, and what we're doing is trying to kill them. But like I read something that talked about the story on how like, well, what if the good guy's the bad guy? Like you sympathize with the guys you're killing because Low G-Man is literally going to an alien planet to colonize, and because there's aliens there who are defending themselves, he's shooting them. Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's like I don't know. At this point, you're kind of like maybe we weren't meant to take over this alien planet, Mr. Low G.
It would be interesting if they made a Low G-Man 2 where you got to fight as the aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Halo, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is a new perspective. Like, this is, if you think about this, is kind of like a weird take on Halo. I don't know. It's the first Halo.
Maybe this game is responsible for Halo. Yeah.
Sorry. I'll let you guys talk about it. That was just a weird little side tangent.
But there's not really a lot to talk about. I mean, it's it is what it is. I mean, kind of its claim to fame is just the difference of mechanics. This freeze gun ray, and then having to stab the enemies to death, and then obviously because of you're the low gravity man, you jump really high.
Yeah, and you like powered up to jump higher and higher.
Yeah, so that's kind of its gimmick, so to speak. Which actually, in some ways, my gripe about Mega Man is always that Mega Man's jump is so dinky.
Right.
And this is like the exact opposite problem.
Yeah.
But
you power up your jump, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I at first didn't like about it, and I grew to like, was okay. So you get to an end of a stage. What happens, guys? Pop quiz. You get to the end of the stage. What do you have to do before you get through the stage?
Kill the boss.
Kill the boss. And in this thing, I don't know what it is about NES. NES got us used to being ready for a boss by like giving a quick like, oh, things are slowing down. The music changes. There's a prep for the boss. In this one, it's like, this enemy's slightly bigger than the rest. Boy, it's taken a while. And then it's like choo 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 at the end. You're like, oh, I just killed the boss. That's how I felt the first time I killed the boss. It's kind of like you. It's like what is it, like in Jurassic Park where the dinosaur gets about to kill the lawyer, and he like pops in, he's on the toilet, and he's like, oh wait, oh I'm sorry, I'm still gonna kill you. That's what I feel like. I feel like I stumbled upon the boss. And he's like, here, it just that. But after a while I started to think, oh, it is true, like maybe you would find the boss. It's not like you in real life the lights would lower, it'd get dramatic. But I love that
the music
feeling.
changes.
I know, but like that's part of us as it's only it's completely very much a video game aesthetic. Because in movies they don't kind of do that, where it's like, I guess they do if they're cheesy. They're like, all right, here we go.
It's kind of like Harrison Gunn pulling out and shooting the guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just exactly. It's just kind of like it. You get kind of prepped. You get psyched. You normally like wipe the sweat off your hands and you're about to do it. But in here it's like you don't have time. You're about to kill the boss, and you utilize the whole freeze and then. Pull out your spear, which gets a little bit old, but you can just go past them. It's not like you have to kill every enemy to do it. But I did end up using cheats to kind of get through it, because one level, I think it's like they break it up into like 2-2, 2-3. I think it was like 3-2. There's no way I would have beaten that boss. But anyway, I ended up kind of using cheats and then seeing how it ended. Some of the levels are really good. Like when you have your jump totally leveled up, you can get through a lot of levels. But there's some where, like, if you don't, it's kind of like Castlevania, where you have the small whip, and you're like, oh, crud, I lost my big weapon. I'd rather start over than keep going with the small whip. This kind of falls into the same thing. It's kind of, I don't know, Space Castlevania is closer than a Metroid game, which makes no sense, because it should be similar to those Metroid games, but I get more of a methodical vibe.
Now that you mention it, I think we need a Space Castlevania.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Konami, get on it.
Yeah,
I do like how like you can steal the enemies like little ships and use them, or like the mech, like the mech leg kind of body, and do those kind of things to change it up a little bit.
Yeah,
some levels, when you talk about it being methodical, some levels used you're jumping like more in more interesting ways, or like made it feel like it was more important than others, where it was just a hassle to be.
I almost feel like games back, and this probably isn't too far from the truth, but games of this vintage, where you'd have a development team of maybe like 7 people, 10 people, something like that, and it's like, Bob, you do level 1, Sam, you do level 2, Curly, you do level 3, and so you have these games that have these weird difficulty curves and where the mechanics kind of change or use differently in different parts of the game. This kind of has maybe a little bit of that feel where maybe different people design different pieces of it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But
yeah,
but the vehicle thing's really cool. I should have mentioned that earlier.
That
that's a pretty unique thing actually for games from around this time.
Yeah, I'll give one little knock on it. And maybe it's because here's the thing. I didn't realize it was a late release game because it kind of feels like an early release. You know how most of the time a game that's late release has a little more polish to it because they've already found ways to skip a lot of steps in order to get more out of the system for less. This one felt kind of low budget for being a late release. Kind of like they realized like, hey, we're only going to sell so much. It's a good idea, but if it would have been in the oven a little longer. My big example is its lack.
So I think it has a low frame rate.
Yeah, that, and I was going to say its lack of parallax scrolling. Like, if any game needed it, even though I know it was more of a Super Nintendo thing than NES, like, there's a few good NES games that had parallax scrolling. But this one just, like the clouds and everything in the background, I just think they could have zhuzhed it a little more. They could have spent a little bit longer on that. Like, I don't know. I've never noticed a game not having parallax scrolling except this one. And I've never been one, even though I've said it 3 times, to give many S's about it. Because how some people are like, oh, this parallax scrolling in Shovel Knight is amazing. And it's great. But now I know if it didn't, like, it wouldn't have been as good. This game screamed for, like, just a little bit more je ne sais quoi.
I'm glad you articulated that very well because I don't think I would have noticed, but I think that had to be it. I felt like there was too much on screen, but it was also very flat, very, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably exactly what it was. There needed to be some
It felt kind of like one of the early Capcom.
Just felt like an early game.
Yeah, like one of the Capcom arcade-ish, kind of games.
A black box game. I don't know.
Maybe not a black box game, but yeah. But it felt like the vintage of the Capcom games that have that grid line, like the early to mid NES days, things like Commando or Bionic Commando, that kind of thing.
And did it?
As far as graphics go.
Yep.
Did it also feel just a little stiff, control wise was a big thing for me. It felt awfully it looked like it wasn't supposed to be stiff, but then I'm just one of those where I'm pushing the controller harder and harder and punching it harder and harder than...
Yeah, I feel that way about NES games almost universally outside of the first-party games. So, yeah. And I guess Ninja Gaiden I don't feel that way about, but a lot of platformers kind of have that feeling.
Yeah. But, I've never heard of it. It's kind of cool to have a game that I never heard of, never played back in the day. And both these games are kind of these are both honestly great book club picks, even though these are not going to be in my top 100. I don't think Connectica's in there. No, but they're super interesting, and I could see having nostalgia. This was the game that I felt so much last kind of thing I'll say about it. A lot of these games I will give a higher score because it makes me nostalgia. It gives me nostalgia for it without having played it back in the past. There's some games that we've picked in the book clubs where I'm like, I know I would have loved this if I played it back in the day, but this isn't one that made me nostalgic for the NES. It just kind of made me think, oh, this other game would have been a little better, or this would have been better if they did this, or it's like, okay, this is different because it freezes people, but in this case, it's not necessarily better. I've never had a game kind of go out of its way in my brain to think it didn't give me that kind of extra hook of this kind of feeling that I'm playing an old game that I would have appreciated, if that makes sense.
It's a very NES game.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a good game for what it is, but but if you want to play this style of game, there are better this game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's
yeah.
Like I said, I've mentioned a couple of Vice Project Doom, Shattered Hand, both that's superior to this game. And both have a very similar feel.
I agree. So. And those games are also, if I was trying to make a point, it was that Vice Project Doom, Shattered Hand are both games that I both understand the nostalgia and I feel like it reminds me and it gives me that same kind of tingly feeling. And this game kind of just felt a little hollow. It felt like somebody in 2016 made an NES game and over the course of 3 months, and here it is. Like it felt like someone was trying to like a generic NES game,
So-
like one of those you get in a fake 100 fake games. This felt like kind of a fake game.
So what
That's
this-
not nice. I'm
No.
sorry.
The feeling that
That's
you get
just
from
saying.
this, I could best probably describe it as like movies. So you had your Arnold movies, you had your Sylvester Stallone, Arnold, like first-rate action movies.
Don't say Jean-Claude.
I wasn't going to say Jean-Claude.
Okay, who are you going to say?
Jean-Claude.
Oh.
But like, I still like those movies.
All right, I'm gonna go a step lower. I'm gonna
I
say
still like
Highlander.
them.
The Highlander.
This is like a Steven Seagal movie.
Okay, thank you, Steven Seagal.
You know,
Wait, but not Under Siege.
not aside from Under Siege. This is yeah.
Under Siege. No, I got it, guys.
Which, as we all know, is the peak of cinema.
No, I got it, guys.
Yeah.
It's Under Siege 2.
It's yeah.
That also has one of my favorite lines, though.
What's that? Can you say it?
I cannot say the end of it.
All right. Well, never mind then.
Just use a different colorful word.
I assumed he was dead, and then he's like, "Assumptions are the mother of all f-ups."
That's like the most Steven Seagal thing Steven
Yeah.
Seagal could possibly say.
But it's a great line in the movie.
And then he-
I assumed he was dead,
and then he ran.
Yeah. Then he jumped off the train, like going full speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's Under Siege is one where he's the cook. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cook.
And he uses those tactics,
Yeah,
like
he's
Dennis the Menace or something.
Yeah,
like,
he's somehow the cook on the boat that gets taken over, and then somehow the cook on.
But he's also.
high-speed
But I think
train.
he's also like a SEAL, though. Like,
What I want to know.
you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like some retired.
Yeah.
Like.
He's like super worried about nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I live a different life now.
What I want to know is like he's so good at squinting. When he puts on sunglasses, is he still squinting?
Definitely.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
Definitely.
that's
Yeah.
my big. Every time I see Steven Seagal, I'm like, are you looking directly into the sun?
It's his
Yeah.
resting squint face.
Yeah.
Maybe he's looking directly at the box art that's bright yellow of Low G Man.
He was definitely one of my favorite like bad actors. Like Nick Cage.
Oh, yeah,
Nick Cage is up there too.
I like all those movies. I'm not knocking them because I
Yeah.
have them all on Laserdisc.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like I said, you just have a different. It's not that they're bad. You just have a different level of expectation. That's all. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, right. So Low G Man. All right, what do you guys take? We'll go around the other way. Adam, what's your baby bottles out of 5 for Low G Man for the NES?
I'm going to give this a 3.25. I'm
All
really
right.
slicing the baby bottles up tonight.
All right, and Sean.
Flat 3.
Yep.
I'm gonna go 3.5. It's not bad, but I think for being a late NES release, they did lack a few things. This game was kind of I felt like it should have had a little more in it.
Yeah, I think this game it would only be your favorite if you used to play it, and since I didn't, it's not going to pull it up. But like you said, like the Shatter Hands or the others, where I'm like, dude, this is amazing, right? What's the other Super Nintendo game I always talk up? I can't think of anyway. But yeah, so for me, I would also go for a 3. It's good, not great. A little forgettable, not broken, but yeah, it just didn't wow me in any sense of the word. But I get if you used to play it, I probably would have given this like a 4. So it's kind of in the same vein of Connectica, where it's like you probably need a little nostalgia to make this thing butter your roll.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Hey, all, real quick, remember you can email at us, videogamedads@yahoo.com, and we'll get through a couple emails here, and this might be the first time we have not had a new iTunes review, so just a quick plug and reminder, we love our score. We still are kicking at a 4.9, love all the reviews we have on there. If you have not reviewed us on iTunes, we really appreciate it. And good or bad, we will read it live on air or whatever platform you listen to us on. If you leave us a review, we really like it. That's our way of saying that's our tier of no money tier. Just give us a review if you can. If you already have, thank you so much. Okay, emails. This one comes from Mike. Quick one here. Hey, can I add Metal Warriors for the SNES to the list? I did not discover this one till about a year ago, and it is freaking great. You'll not be disappointed. Thanks, Mike. Yes, you sure can. Of course, we will add Metal Warriors, and that's how quickly you can add a game to our Video Game Book Club. Another one that we got, a guy, Mike, we'll just call him Mike Jr. This is a little longer email. Hey, fellas, really appreciate how you all still take the time to put together episodes despite the chaos of parenting, work, and the world turning upside down. Thank you very much. And same to you guys and whoever's listening. Keep on keeping on. And whatever you're doing, if that thing is giving you trouble, just get through. It's like this, I don't know if you guys have seen on Instagram, there's this like old guy with gray hair that basically gives people advice, but he's like a comedian. He's like, hey, so you guys, if you get anxious about that thing, just realize that you don't have to do that thing. Just do something else. And when you do something else, that thing that you're anxious about will get a little better. And then your day will be better. Okay, bye. And he like basically gives this great little advice like, hey, you know what? If you realize you wasted a lot of time and you put a lot of effort into something and it didn't turn out the way, just realize like, well, if you didn't do that, you wouldn't have realized that. So you did that work to realize that, to then go do something else that makes you feel better. Okay, bye. And it's like the best thing ever. I don't know what he is, but imagine that and seeing a guy that looks like Father Time. Like in the back, and he's got always a hippie T-shirt on or something like that.
Yeah, man, probably living in a commune.
It's freaking awesome. Anyway, I don't know what that guy's name is, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, sorry. Back. Another. We got a lot of mics. This is a different mic for sure. Emailing us, but a lot of mics. A lot of guys named Mike. What's our over under?
Name.
At least,
it's
it's a good name. Oh, of course, you'd think so.
Well,
but you go by Michael.
That's true. Well, some of my friends call me Mike though.
Yeah. If they know you well enough.
They're just too lazy to say my full name.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel with Benjamin. Yeah, definitely. He says he's a very proud dad of 4. Good. Of a 4.5-year-old. Okay, still though, proud of you. I thought he meant 4 kids.
4 kids. And he still remembers how to type.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you had 4, you wouldn't be emailing us. You'd be just getting through your days. And that's just the thing. Just whatever you could do, get through your day. Anyway. Proud dad of a 4.5-year-old who is obsessed with Zelda. They only have a Switch and thus far have played Zelda Link's Awakening Remaster, Breath of the Wild a couple times, which she took control except for bosses and difficult sequences. They're currently working on Skyward Sword. First thing, I have a 5.5-year-old who is not into anything unless it's like a simple 2D. So the fact you've got a 4.5-year-old little lady there that's played through Breath of the Wild, that blows my mind. But kids go at different paces, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely soft clap for that. Soft, slow clap for that. Anyways, question is, they seem decent for her age, but also tried Link to the Past, but she lost interest. So that's interesting. They haven't played any other Link titles, but are hoping that Twilight Princess or Wind Waker will be coming to the Switch later this year. My Switch guys, do you guys know this? Because this email is like a month or 2 old.
Heard rumors is all.
I think there's just rumors. I mean,
I've heard that too.
There's Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, obviously for Wii U.
Yeah.
I mean, for a 4.5, Twilight Princess is like a really heavy, very dark Zelda. If you haven't played it,
that's what he was wondering.
And
it appropriate.
It takes about 5 or 6 hours really to get. I actually really like Twilight Princess. It's one of my favorite Zeldas personally, but it is a slow burn game. Like it takes a long time to really get going, and that's one of the big knocks on the game. Is that I think especially anymore people give up on it before it gets there.
Yeah.
And people go, "Oh, it's not that good." It's like, well, did you play past like 5 hours? Because that's when it starts to get really good.
Yeah.
But Wind Waker for kids, for adults, Wind Waker is still my personal favorite Zelda. So figure out a way to play it, I guess, if it's not going to come out.
I'm such a sucker for that cell shading too.
Dude, it looks great. It still looks great. And the HD remake that they did on Wii U, it doesn't make any sense for them not to port it over to Switch.
They smoothed some of it out too on the Wii U. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's got better frame rate. Like the graphics are better. It's not just a rehashing where they just up the resolution or something like that. They redrew a lot of the stuff in the game.
They took out some of the redundancy later on in the game, just a little bit.
They smoothed out a little bit of the difficulty and that kind of thing too. But Wind Waker is like a 3D Zelda's.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite Zelda, and of the 3D Zeldas that for a kid, it's like perfect. Yeah. So, if they come, there's no plans for it, like we said, that we're aware of. But man, I'd figure out a way to play it.
Cool, yeah, because that's what you asked. Is it too scary or creepy? And I think you answered that question.
No, Twilight Princess very well might be, but not Wind Waker.
Yeah. Perfect. Majora's Mask, he said, like, scares the creeps out of him, or he said a more colorful word than creeps, fecal matter out of him. So he's like, no, not that one. But Spirit Tracks, he was one.
I haven't played Spirit Tracks, honestly, so I don't have. But I get the sense it's a little more whimsical, sort of like Wind Waker.
I mean, again, it didn't like link
or
to
Minish Cap. Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert! Like one of the games I think that's coming up on my next, top 100. Is a Zelda game, but also like I hope it would hold her attention, but maybe not, because if you didn't like Link to the Past, we'll see. But I have a niece that really, really loves. How about this? This is kind of different. If they if she liked Breath of the Wild, I raise you. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. What's the game that came out recently? Phoenix.
Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix Rising.
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, so this is it's not a Zelda game.
It's a good game. It's easy to play, too.
Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising. Just check it out. See if you play the trailer or something. See if she's interested in it. This is one that I had a niece who got finished and got through Breath of the Wild and did everything they could and got Immortals Phoenix Rising. And she loved it because they have, like, there's kind of flying and there's a little bit of like a unicorn aspect. You can have a horse that flies, and she got so into that. So check out Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Very inexpensive too. Like it's worth risking for on the Switch.
Yeah, especially. Yeah, it's like a $20 or less game. He goes on to say, thanks again for everything that you offer us gaming parents. I love this, though. He left a PS Pro tip, which I'm a fan of. Check this out. He says, a pro tip for parents who utilize videos for any form of reward, such as going to the potty. Showing your kid original game trailers ensures the videos are under 4 minutes, and you can help figure out what games they might want to play next or are interested in.
Nice.
I thought that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if a kid goes potty or, like, show them a trailer of a game. It depends on the kids, whatever. Like, one of my kids that would work on, the other one, they'd be like, that's not a reward. I want my M&M. But that being said, that's a great way to check out if a kid is interested in a video game. Because sometimes you're like, this is going to blow my kid's socks off. They're going to love this, and they don't care. And then another one, they're like, love. And so it's hit and miss. It totally depends. But anyway, Mike, thank you so much for the email. That's a great one. And then we've got, well, gosh, we always joke about we don't have, but if we get, Manscaped has been trying to ride our testicles for so long, and we will not subject our listeners to Manscaped.
Yeah, go away, Manscaped.
This is my way of saying, if anybody's listening for Manscaped, no, we're okay. You can find Manscaped on much other platforms. We would rather have our listeners not do drugs. Speaking of drugs, another email from Jake. Hey dads, love the start of your top 100s. Just wanted to drop in and say I totally remember Drug Wars on my TI-83.
Very nice.
And you said, I was in middle school when it was popular.
Yep.
And I can't wait to hear more over the next few episodes. As always, thanks for the content and hope you and your families are doing well. Jake from Minnesota. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Lots of Drug Wars fans.
Yeah. So keeping up, you know what we didn't have? Anybody saying what the heck our top 100. So what have you guys, before we get into it, we did our 100 through 91. What are your thoughts on what we call the top 100?
I came up with Pop 100 and Top 100, and then I ran out of puns. That's all I got.
All right. Do you guys think of anything on
I failed to do my homework.
That's okay. Yeah. I like Sean's Pop 100 because it's kind of stupid.
Well, that's slightly backhanded.
No.
Compliment.
It is not. If you've been listening to this podcast since the beginning, Michael, anytime, like, remember, our name is stupid. The Handheld Holla is really stupid.
Well.
I just wanted a listener to come up with it. But Pop 100 is funny, and it's still close to top. And we could play like a popcorn sound effect before we start. And when we get older and we do this as grandpas, we could be the Pop 100.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of adorable. That's almost too cute. I mean, that's too cute.
Or Top 100, Dad.
That one didn't bring us. I was just standing in the outfield of a softball game that was going pretty poorly, and I was bored, so Thinking of puns.
Yeah, I forgot about the.
Should we let it go? Should we let it go one more episode and see if
No,
our
let's call it
listeners
the
come
Pop
through?
100. We can do that. That works.
You want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, listeners, you failed us. I'm just kidding. If you think of something, just email us. We might change
we'll
the
Open to suggestion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
as of right now, it's our Pop 100. And remember, folks, if you didn't listen to our last episode, what are you doing with
I
yourself?
still feel a
Go
little bit
listen to
too
it.
young to be called Pop, but maybe.
Oh, well, are you a bigger fan of soda?
God.
I just
Never
gave-
mind, we're not too young.
Dad joke alert.
First joke we've
I
had
just
land
gave
all
an
day.
Adam joke right back to him. Yep. Oh, yeah. But anyway, sorry. I do apologize for that one. I could hear the exasperations from around the world.
Yeah.
Our one listener.
Collective groaning.
Yeah, in the USSR or whatever. If you could still hear us, I didn't think. Oh, I need to check. Like, with everything that's going on in all the places of the world, like, who's fallen off. I don't. Antarctica is the one continent we haven't hit, but we still got those New Zealanders. If you're from New Zealand, send us a freaking email. I know you're listening to us.
Yeah, there's a couple. We have a couple of people in New Zealand.
I know. I want to get an email from a weird. I say weird country. It's a weird country. You guys are weird.
Sorry, New Zealand.
Yeah, sorry, New Zealand. You're a Kiwi, right? I know what's
well,
up.
they're weird enough that they filmed the Lord of the Rings there.
And Alien Covenant. I keep
And-
bringing it up.
Really?
That whole other world thing was brought there. Yeah, it is. Everybody says who goes to New Zealand. It's like if you ever felt like if you're a big fan of sci-fi or movies that are alternate dimensions, New Zealand feels like you're on a different planet, but you still feel like you're on a humanoid planet.
There's also a terribly awesome movie that I mistakenly watched while I think in college or maybe a little bit after called Black Sheep, and you can see
What?
how
That's a
you
great
know
movie.
The one with Chris
No,
Farley?
no, not with Chris Farley.
Oh.
It's not with Chris Farley, and that's where the mistake happened. It's
I thought it was Chris Farley and David Spade and the Tommy
No,
Boy
that's a great
fake.
movie, also called Black Sheep. But also look up another one about I think it came out in New Zealand about sheep that go mad and
It's
they start
about
attacking.
a murderous sheep.
Yeah, a bunch of sheep that go they get some crazy disease and they start killing people. Yeah, In New Zealand, there's more sheep than people.
Based on true events. So New Zealand was the first to go.
Yep. Then they figured out how to get boats and travel. No, that second part didn't happen. But they did attack the people of New Zealand.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, we recorded it. It was one of the first things we DVR'd or whatever. And it just said Black Sheep is the title, and 100% thought it was the comedy movie. It's not.
Yeah, Black Sheep is just Tommy Boy, except his brother is a politician or something like that.
But underappreciated in the Chris Farley world, I think.
It is, yeah. It and Beverly Hills Ninja.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we guys, we are. I agree. I agree with everything you said. Getting back to our Pop 100 here, guys. All right. Last time we're gonna have to go in different order because let's start. I know we started with
I went first
Adam
last
time, so we'll just go back. We'll start with Michael, then me, then Adam, and then Sean. Does that work?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right. This is fun. And remember, folks, this is our top personal 100, so some of these might be a little obscure, but it's really fun. Play along,
You may not agree.
Yeah, you probably won't, but maybe you'll find a game you like. And I encourage you guys, just like we do with the Video Game Book Club.
This is not the top 100 of all time.
Yeah, come up
This
with...
is our top 100.
Yeah, a lot of nostalgia heavy, and I encourage our listeners to do this as well. It feels like it's an assignment, but I've never had a more fun assignment that you do that you actually enjoy, and I'm being serious. It's kind of fun to come up with this. Would you guys agree or disagree?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I mean, maybe it's not, but still, email us. Let us know how you're digging it. All right, Michael, you are at 90 to 81. All right. A minus to B to B minus. What you got?
Here we go. My first one is Duck Hunt on NES.
Oh, nice.
Also, I played it in the arcade, which I didn't know about, but I found a VHS tape of my brother's 3rd birthday party.
Dude.
And we were at Showbiz Pizza, as it was called.
Yes.
It's essentially Chuck E. Cheese now, got bought out.
The one on Metcalf.
Exactly, the one on Metcalf. I have video of me being in there, and I'm actually playing Duck Hunt at the arcade. I had no
Sick.
idea they even had that.
Can you? Is there any way you could digitize it? Because I
Like
had
on
a
a play
birthday
choice?
Yeah. I already have it. On
on YouTube.
It's either YouTube or on my computer. Either way,
Dude, put it on there.
I did have some on YouTube. So.
I've had a birthday at that very place, probably in the same, because it was 1987. When was it?
It would have been, he was 84. Yeah, so about 87, 88. It was right around that time.
Because that's when I was big going there. I want to see, because I have the memory of everything in the location of the Sunshine Band or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, we got video of it, so I'll show it to you.
Heck yeah. Okay, what are we talking about again?
Just Duck Hunt again. Yes.
Duck Hunt.
But yeah, I even played it in college when I was much older. After coming back from the bars, we'd have like duck hunt competitions and stuff in the house. And, so it's
Did you ever do the thing where you gave the other person the controller?
No.
Had them
I did
control
not
the
know
duck?
about that
have the
until,
control.
like,
I
a
didn't.
year
I
ago.
honestly, I didn't know about it until like 4 or 5 years ago. Probably 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
but
that's because none of us read the manual.
that's true.
I know.
That is true.
So the few people that don't know, if you plug in Player 2, you can control the ducks on the original NES.
I used to use the manuals to write down password codes for the games.
I used
That's
to
what I
use
used to
them.
do
I
some
used to
for.
use them to throw away.
Yeah,
It was coasters.
makes sense.
Now they're worth hundreds of dollars.
Exactly. Now regrets.
All right. My number 89 pick is Sega Bass Fishing on the Dreamcast.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those games that I can remember. I actually didn't even have a Dreamcast, but my roommate did. And I can remember just spending days just fishing. And how realistic it was compared to any other game was...
Even in the arcade, man. Playing the arcade version of that?
it was good. I never played the arcade. But... it was all about the controller.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was 100% the controller.
Yeah,
the game was okay, but it made it feel so lifelike.
Yep.
That it was just amazing.
Yeah, that's still my favorite fishing game.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Agreed. Wonderful game.
All right, so my next pick. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
My next pick is one you actually talked about earlier, Ben. Tiger Woods 10 on Wii. Very odd choice. But
I thought it would have been higher on your
this
list.
It's right where it belongs. This was a game that came out, and I played the Tiger Woods before this, and it just didn't feel right. It was clunky. It wasn't accurate with your swings. Then the Wii Motion Plus came out, and I'm telling you, it was like night and day. When you turn your hands, you could hook it or fade it. Very realistic, and this also holds a special place in my heart because it's like one of the only games on online that I was ranked number 1 for at any time. So for about one whole week, let's see, when was it? In 2010 or 11. I was ranked number 1 in the world at Tiger Woods 10. So, I didn't get a trophy or anything.
You were
I thought
probably
I should.
literally ranked higher than Tiger Woods.
I think I was. I practiced
before the
hard.
accident.
Yeah, before the accident.
Which now it's like that's easy. That's easy pickings.
So moving on.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know there was like Tiger Woods stands here in the house. You guys are all like, "Hey, that too soon." He's alive, folks.
Yeah.
He's freaking alive. It's okay. We can make fun of him. He crashed a Hyundai Genesis going like 10,000 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
All right, my next pick is RBI. I think it's at number 88. RBI 3 on NES, and this is kind of a little bit deeper cut. I used to play this a lot, especially in college. In this game, I really liked because it had the real stats, and not only did it have the real stats for like 1991, I want to say, but it also allowed you to be teams that had made the playoffs in the previous 10 years. So you could be the 85 Royals and have like all of the 85 Royals with all their stats that year.
Wow.
Or if you like the Cardinals that have like 3 different teams where they made the World Series.
That's cool.
So you could kind of, and just, back then to actually have their names and their stats seemed pretty realistic, at least for the time when they had the licensing or whatever. But I really enjoyed it and I played it a lot, but definitely a nostalgia pick right there. So
Great.
My next pick, I believe 87, is 1943, the arcade game. I also had it on NES too as a kid, but I specifically remember going to the arcades in the late 90s, and everything started to be like 75 cents, $1 per play. but the 1943 was always a quarter.
Yes.
And so I always used to play that like 2 or 3 times every time I went to the arcade.
I think I was the same, man.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I always just have real good, like, strong nostalgia for playing that game. And even to this day, I play like a knockoff on my phone.
Have you ever played 1943 Kai for PC Engine?
No, I don't have one.
So it's I've got it. I can loan it to you. But it's 1943. But after you beat the regular game, there's like added levels that are revamped and sort of reimagined. It's super good.
Okay.
But anywho, you should play it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I remember that so well because it had the it had a horizontal coin slot, right?
Yeah.
Not vertical.
Yeah.
And I
you're
tell you,
totally right.
this is the most stupidest thing. It's like me arguing about Hunt's versus Heinz ketchup or something. This might even be a little more cliche and stupid, but like you think, how can you get attached to a vertical or horizontal aspect? I can, because look, your finger goes like that. You hold the quarter, it drops right in. It felt so good putting a quarter in. All these arcade owners with their vertical coin slots, go yourself. Anyway, go ahead. Your next pick.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Number.
No. I want to talk about this a little bit more.
That's
A horizontal.
that's a strong opinion
Yeah.
about quarter orientation.
Yeah.
A horizontal coin
I had no
slot
idea.
is amazing. You guys have
vertical
no
one's
idea.
gonna roll better. It's gonna get stuck less. You know what I
and
mean?
you drop it more, and you have to turn your hand sideways.
That's what she
I'm
said.
telling you. Yeah. I like to keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Okay.
All right.
Number 86.
Hot take.
It is Perfect Dark on N64.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I liked it because I
answer.
loved 007. It took it and it made it. And it was more of picking it for the multiplayer aspect of it, more than the single player. Because I barely actually played it the campaign mode or whatever they called it back then. But specifically, the weapon that I used to love was the laptop gun. Where you could throw it on the wall and it was like a sentry.
That and the railgun, yeah.
Yeah, the railgun was nice too, but they added some nice weapons. They also allowed you to play Sims, and it was a lot like if you didn't have friends or if it was you and a friend, you could play like against 5 different characters.
Space aliens too.
Yep. Exactly. And you could like change the degree of difficulty within each sim, so you could have like one really terrible guy and like 2 really good guys. Just love the customization of it, and always enjoyed playing it.
So pro tip. So Series X, when I got my Series X, because I had never been in the Xbox ecosystem, first thing I downloaded, Perfect Dark, the remastered Xbox version.
Oh, okay.
It's super good. It plays super great. I mean, if you can imagine playing the N64 version at like a full 100 frames a second with no slowdown, but the exact same game just looks better and plays better. If you have an Xbox, play it. It's totally worth the download.
Nice.
Anyway, I'll shut up.
Oh, you're good.
No.
Okay, next one, number 85, Wii Sports. Just
That's
just classic.
That's on my list
It's
somewhere.
again kind of going with the last one. As far as the multiplayer game, definitely top tier. Solo, I mean, it's okay. But when you're playing with friends, whether you're doing the bowling or the tennis, I just think it's a really great game. Didn't do much boxing for whatever reason, but
It's an amazing game.
Yeah, it sold like 4 billion Wii consoles.
yeah.
And on this new one that came out, like it didn't really hit for me. We haven't talked about it much, but I went back and tried
the
to
new
play.
one. I always thought about getting that.
Yeah, it's good, but all it did is make me more nostalgic for the original.
Oh,
Like
okay.
even though it's better technically, and with like air quotes, it is better. But like,
I will say it's
the
worth
original,
it for the bowling alone.
Yeah,
Current Switch bowling, it feels. I think it feels incredible.
I think it feels great, but like I don't think it feels magnificently better than the original. I think it is fine, but like also you don't let go of the button this time. You just
that was weird. To
yeah,
get used
so like
to.
it's to me it's not better. Like it's like I kept trying to let go of the button. They're like, "Hey, quit doing that." I'm like, "But that's how the original was. You let go, like you're letting go of the thing." So like, anyway,
This is probably easier for kids.
I guess. Which is like,
no, I know. Like I'm totally with you. I kind of like the button.
I know,
release,
it's like
the release time because you could like let it fly in the air. Or this one must not allow you.
And you
to
can
do
throw
that.
it back at the people behind you, and they go, "Ah!"
Yeah,
And it's
that's
funny when
true.
they'll
That's
jump.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like we had NES hard, now we have Wii hard, I guess, and Wii was easy. So I'm like, these kids these days, pansies. Go ahead,
All right. Yeah. No. You're good. Number 83 is Far Cry 3 on PS3.
Ooh, good. It's good.
I also had it on PS4, but
sure.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite like open world kind of.
Does that include Blood Dragon?
It doesn't because I never actually played that.
I know. I had to separate those in my list.
Yeah, Blood Dragon's great.
Yeah, I never played it, so I know. Yeah. I've been hearing good things. But yeah, I just really enjoy this game going around.
The guns are great. The story.
The story is what really got me into it. Yeah, I was hooked from day one, and I played it until I beat it. So
the villain in it, even though I know this is your pick, you're probably going to say it, but like the villain in it is so good, and the writing is so good.
Yeah,
compared to other Far Cry's, which I love Far Cry 5, but the villain in Far Cry 3. His dialogue and the way he takes pauses and expresses emotion and how he
very cinematic and
but he's like so off the wall. It feels like this is a crazy person about to do stuff to me. I gotta make sure he's taken out. It doesn't feel like this typical cliche villain who's like bad to be bad, or they're a Bond villain. Like this guy, honestly, I want to do him in because he scares the crap out of me. So good.
Absolutely. All right, number 82 is NFL 2K1 on Dreamcast.
Nice.
This when I went to college, that same person that had the Dreamcast where I did the fishing, we used to play this game all the time. Now, it sounds goofy to pick NFL 2K if you haven't ever played it or heard of it, but it had the best graphics.
Not if you were there for it. It was so
crisp.
Far ahead.
It's in my top 100.
Is
dude.
it?
It's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah. So the graphics were real crisp, and that was it's good enough. But we also added a new game, like a college game, we'll call it, where every time you got scored a touchdown on, you had to take a shot.
Wow.
And we had some pretty fun nights drinking and playing this game. And I just got a lot of nostalgia.
Honestly, there's only a handful of games I can think of that were that much of a leap on what came before. But I mean, for me, I went from Madden on the 64 to NFL 2K on the Dreamcast. That was the football leap that I made.
Yeah.
And it's just like
there still hasn't been a leap since.
Yeah,
and there never will be.
That's like a whole nother planet, whole other reality of existence kind of stuff.
And honestly, a lot of people can argue, and I'm one of those. I think it's still that even the old one, not even the best one, considered the 2K5. 2K1 still plays better than a lot of the Maddens now. Like so many people, even we don't talk about this because we don't talk a lot about the sports games on this podcast. Even though I love them, we do fair amount. Actually, more than a lot. Like I listen to other podcasts and video game stuff. They don't touch them. They make fun of sports games. I think sports games are freaking great. Arcade simulation. It all depends on whatever tickles your pickle. They sell a lot of millions of copies every year. But the 2K series, the developers really cared a lot about trying to innovate, make things really realistic, and blend animation with impact and okay, how long does it take to actually throw the ball so it's realistic, so you have enough time for your defense to do AI and defensive things instead of turning their back and jumping the ball.
It was first to have 3D characters that looked like real people.
Yeah,
they were built correctly, not having giant heads.
Well, and they really focused on making a good fun football simulation game. It wasn't about let's manage that. I mean, there's a place for all these things, and I mean, I know a lot of people are way into this, but I don't play modern football games just because I don't want to be a coach and a manager and have to build a roster and do a whole season and do all I just want to pick it up and play it. And those games were so good for I'm just going to boot up the system, be in the game in a minute or two, and just play a solid football game and just be its own thing and be done with it.
But it felt too, if you had a bad team or you had a good team, it played that way. And nowadays Madden, there's NFL players who are now on Twitter and stuff because there's no competition who go out and say Madden is broken. And there's if you're really into this, there's a guy named Ryan Moody on YouTube that a lot of people know about. Ryan Moody. All he does is make realistic videos about how Madden isn't making proper video games anymore, and it's so broken. And he'll show a game 15 years old. He'll bring up 2K1 and show AI back to back with the new Madden 23 and how this one this is not realistic, or this player just fell straight down and landed on it. So anyway, off my high horse about that. You should never feel ashamed to have the 2K or Sega Sports in your top 100.
I'll fight tooth and nail to say that 2K5 is like one or two minor, like, wonky things away from being like the perfect football game ever. Absolutely, it is the football game I play to this day.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
Nice.
All right, sorry. Keep
All right,
going on your list.
I got one more. I think number 81 is South Park: The Stick of Truth on PS3.
Yeah.
So I don't like RPG games generally, but this one I do. I took a liking to, and it plays out like almost like a movie of South Park.
It looks like an episode.
Yeah, well, like an episode, but like it's just it's got so much going on, and yeah, it just I love the character. I've been watching South Park since it came out essentially, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. The storyline, because it actually has like a real storyline, and yeah. That's my 81 pick. And actually, Adam gave me like a promo box a long time ago, before I think I was even on the podcast.
Yeah, the thing about that game was it was like in development limbo for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it was like, how are you going to make an RPG out of a South Park thing? And it's just going to be a broken pile of crap.
Yeah.
But it's actually like really good.
Matt Stone and Trey Parker, I think.
Yeah.
They definitely had their hand in this because everything is.
Oh no, they wrote
very,
everything, voiced it. Yeah,
you can tell everything is very South Park. It's not like one of those where they made like a Aliens movie and it has or Aliens video game, but it has nothing to do with the movie or whatever.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are my picks.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I'll go next. So we are at 90. My first pick is Crimson Skies Road to Revenge for the original Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
This was an early Xbox Live game. It is an aerial combat, what am I thinking? Dogfighting game. And after like Top Gun, what I really love about this is I have memories of this as being one of my first like Xbox Live like games ever. Playing online, having voice chat. It has like the protagonist like an Indiana Jones type guy, and it plays in this weird like it's where they have it's a futuristic aesthetic, but still has like a weird 1950s aesthetic at the same time. So it's as if what if our style got like paused, yet we still had like all this cool technology, or what if we had the technology of like the 2030s back in the 50s, but we still had like the style of the 1950s. It's got this really cool aesthetic, really great gameplay. Right now, obviously, you can't play it online anymore, but the graphics are just so good. And I'm not a big flying game, even though last week I picked like Pilot Wings for my I like a few. I'm very kind of picky. But as an art, it had this great the cinematic scenes in between. Like it felt like it was like had a high budget and tons of fun to play, and still plays amazing.
And
now.
It's kind of open world too, which was very unique.
Yeah. So Crimson Skies is High Road to Revenge. Can't talk highly enough. That's number 90 for me. Number 89. I don't know if you guys ever played it, but I love this. We talk about open world games. Sleeping Dogs for the PS3, PS4.
Okay.
This is a game plays very similar to say the style of a Grand Theft Auto. It's an open world game where you can get out and solve missions, crimes, this kind of thing. It takes place in Japan, and it's got a protagonist that like I guess is very similar to the like Yakuza games, but the graphics in this game are really amazing. The voice work and the combat are just like top notch. And out of all the open world games like Vice City, GTA, Grand Theft Auto, this is the game like I think about just a ton. I think not enough people played it. It sold okay. They were thinking about making a sequel. It just really holds up. Like you right from the get-go, you're thrown into it, and it's not really a slow burn. But like the wet pavement, the fighting sequences, kind of like how Arkham felt new. This felt the same way. I just thought Sleeping Dogs for PS3, PS4. Any of you guys ever played it?
I have not.
No,
okay.
It's been on my backlog for a long time. One of these days.
It's they remastered it for PS4. I'll tell you, I think it's probably on a lot of people's backlog. Give it a try. Again, a lot of these games on the list are games that like you constantly think about, and for as much as I played it, which is way less than, say, a lot of the other open world games, I think about this one a whole lot more. So I had to include it on my list. Next one, game you might have heard of, Shadow of the Colossus for the PS2. Most of you guys know what this game's about. It's a wonderful kind of artsy-fartsy game. There's all you fighter bosses. It's just a whole bunch of boss battles. You ride a horse. You follow a golden beam and fight a huge big bad. But like the scale, the music, the graphics, the mystery behind it all. Some people really like Eco. I'm big on Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus, wonderful game.
Nice.
Next, Fight Night Round 2.
Ooh, that's
for
a
the
good
Xbox
one.
or PS2.
That is a good one.
Yeah,
I played that a lot, actually.
Yeah. You the control and stuff. I
yeah.
Fight Night.
The
yeah.
joystick haymakers on that feel so amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was. I'm sure like round 3 or round 4. There's other games that like very hard, but I just remembered playing this one with friends and like landing a punch and like the control of using the joysticks as your left and right hand and blocking versus punching. Like one of the few games where it like the visceral like just felt so amazing. So Fight Night Round 2.
The only thing I didn't like was like the training you had to do to make your guys stronger.
You're right.
That was the only dislike I had on that game.
My wife would help me do the sit-ups.
Oh,
like in recent years, so I
yep.
could tap these buttons, and then she could hit the other one when it was time.
Yeah, or you try to like get the weights, and you had to like get the marker at the
terrible at that.
Yeah. So this is my obligatory every time this game gets mentioned on the GameCube. You also get Super Punch Out on the GameCube disc.
Yep. Awesome bonus.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I
So if you buy so the cheapest way to play Super Punch Out and get another great game is to buy Fight Night Round 2 on the GameCube.
I had no idea. That's sick.
Yep. Yeah, awesome game. Still holds up today. The fourth one is actually very good too, but the second one was the one.
That's the one I remember too.
Yeah. That's why I have it in here. Next, let's see, is God of War 3. It came out for the PS3 and I guess PS4. So this is the third God of War installment. The first two were wonderful. The third one just took such a leap, and I loved the ending. It was one of the few games where it's like, from start to finish, the quality is so high. There's not really like
it's really good.
A lull, and that's why I put this. I kind of feel like maybe I had God of War somewhere else. Maybe this is my favorite.
The God of War 2 and like those opening sequences that they started.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they started in God of War 1, but they just took it to a whole nother level on God of War 2.
Yes.
And God of War 3. It's just like the first like 30 minutes of those games.
Yeah.
It's just like now you're going to have to play the whole thing because they're so good.
Yeah, talk about a hook. They feel like those nowadays. No one watches TV. Everybody does streaming shows, and I'm not really into Stranger Things. I hear great things, but like, you know, I've been hooked on TV shows. This feels like something like, you know, you can say what you want. You can't turn this game into a TV show. This is one of those times where like, oh, you know, this is my example of, you want to talk about a hook. I'll take this over any like Marvel or any of the other ones. I did see the new Thor. That's very good, by the way. Not to do huge side tangent. The Love and Thunder movies are really, really randomly good. It's kind of different than the rest, but like, anyway, it's got everything you love about God of War, but the cinematics and like you were saying, the scale just it cranks it up to 11, and total fun from start to finish, and great payoff at the end. All right, next, let's see. I'm going like 89, 87, 86, 85, 85. So this is 84. WWF Superstars for the original Game Boy. I picked this for a Handheld Holla. This game's great. You can only pick from 1 to 5 players, like Mr. Perfect, Hulk Hogan. It is just a wrestling game, but like this is my favorite wrestling game of maybe all time. I love it. They made like 6-7 games for the original Game Boy. This is one of the first, and it's one of the best. The sprite size, how fun it is. The late Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan go against each other, $1 Million Man. And before every fight, they have trash talking between the two players before you go, and you can like watch a cinematic sequence. Just awesome handheld game. If you're a fan of wrestling and you haven't played it, check it out. 93, we have Rez for the Dreamcast, and also / PSVR, since we're talking about the game.
Yeah, PSVR is great.
Yeah, so Rez is a trance shooter done by the same guy that did Luminous and, you know, the new Tetris Effect. It's a synth wave shooter. It's if you haven't heard of it, it's if you like music games, check it out. It is one of the best. I still listen to the soundtrack to this day. Rez, R-E, and it's spelled R-E-Z. But it came out for the PS2 locally. I think PS2 here.
Yeah.
Okay. I played it on the Dreamcast, and you can play it on PS4.
Yeah,
or
it has the infamous
PSVR.
PS2 controller as well.
Yes, and PSVR, and then the vibrating controller that you're supposed to like put under your seat to kind of help you get immersed in the music, but people thought of it as a naughty peripheral. And this is 92.
82?
82, sorry, yes, 82. Moss for the PSVR.
Whoa.
This game is
Also on PC.
Oh, it is also on PC? I didn't know that. I've only played on PSVR. I think it's awesome. It plays a lot like a storybook.
In Quest.
And what? Oh, it's
Quest.
on Quest?
Sorry,
Oh.
I keep interrupting you.
No.
But yeah, if you have PC, Quest 2 or...
Have you played it?
I played it on Quest and PSVR.
What'd you think of it?
Yeah, they're good. I mean, it's basically the same game either way.
Yes.
But it's great. It's a good game.
Yeah, so you play a little mouse protagonist. You follow him around, and like it feels like you're playing in a miniature world because you're like helping out this mouse, and you're there's like a kind of tilt shift mechanic. I don't know how to describe it. Like you're watching from a third person view, and it is a third person action game.
I think of it as you are basically a spirit inside of a fairy tale world that assists the protagonist.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the charm of this game, it feels like it'd just be a kiddie game or simple, but it's done so well. And the music, the crafting, whoever put this game together, it's just like such a high quality top tier game that I thought was an exclusive. So good to know other people can play it, but definitely had to make it my list of top 100. It is just so good. All right, my last pick is this is my Zelda game. So spoiler alert, one of my only Zelda games in the top 100. I'm not a big Zelda fan, but I had to have it in here. My 81st pick is Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance. I've said before, fantasy doesn't do it as much as sci-fi, but Legend of Zelda Minish Cap for the Game Boy is so much fun. There's a miniature mechanic where you can get real small, and in order to pass other levels, it wasn't done by the original NES team or something like, or Nintendo team. I'm not sure.
It was done by Capcom.
Oh, Capcom. Okay.
That and the 2 Game Boy Color games, I believe. And so you're not the first person. The only reason I know this, you're not the first person to tell me they don't like Legend of Zelda games, but they do like those.
Yeah.
Those 3.
Yeah, and it's ages and seasons, right?
Oracle or something?
Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
They're two halves of the same game, basically. Yeah.
Pokemon Red and Blue, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but Minish Cap, give it a try if you haven't checked it out. Friggin' love it. My favorite Zelda game, and this coming from a guy who doesn't like Zelda games, I think it's like one of the best handheld games I've ever played.
Yeah, that Zelda guy.
Who's the Zelda guy? Oh, that Zelda guy who emailed in.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I was like, not here. No, well, him and his daughter play it. I
No, I meant the character. You know how people call Link Zelda?
Oh, yeah.
I got your dad joke.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Bad dad joke.
I thought we were talking about the guy who...
I thought you were talking about the email.
We're batting
too.
we're
Sorry.
batting like 200 on dad jokes.
I'm
today.
sorry, man. The dad jokes are getting bad this time of night.
Yeah, midsummer, that's kind of how we are.
Happens.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So you're done?
Yep.
All right, so it's my turn. So at 90, I'm going to go with Playdead's Inside.
I don't know that game.
So Playdead's the developer. Inside is available on basically everything.
I picked it for like 95. Or whatever
Yeah,
last time.
Switch and
Okay.
PC and Xbox and
You're good. I
everything.
cheated. I did Limbo and Inside.
Yeah, I mean, Limbo is also basically the same sort of thing, but it's just a really competent, very good side scroller. It's super weird. It's eerie.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have any dialogue. The graphics are really simple. It's just a really well thought out, just a good game. I won't belabor it since Benjamin's already talked about it.
No, I was going to say, actually, since this is our first overlap, I kind of want to keep track of that. I want to see, because obviously we're going to have some Mario overlap. This is the first one we picked twice. So if you're keeping count at home, so far 2 dads have selected Inside.
Inside looks like a kid's game at first, but it is like super unsettling.
Oh yeah,
I've played
so
through it. I have
unsettling.
probably played through it 3 times total. But
I can't even do it the second time.
it's still just makes my skin crawl when I play it.
Does.
Yeah. But it's just such a weird game. But it's really good. It's a unique experience that sticks with you.
Yes, definitely sticks with you.
So 89, I have a Nex Machina, which is also it's available on PC, PlayStation. I think that's it. But it's a twin stick. It's a very fast-paced, very good-looking modern twin stick shooter with 3D graphics. It's developed by House Marquee, which also did Resogun and a few other games. They did that new fancy PS5 game, but I can't remember the name of it. But in any respect, it's just a really, really good twin stick shooter. It's kind of hard to discuss the mechanics in detail, but there's scoring, there's power-ups, there's like tons of hidden stuff in the game. It's got a great soundtrack. It's one of my favorite video game soundtracks. If you like twin stick shooters at all and you've not played this, then you're doing yourself a disservice. It's super good.
Yeah.
So Nex Machina. 88, I have Broforce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't played that.
Yeah, so it's available on Switch and everything else, I think, at this point. PlayStation, Xbox, PC. And it is just a very simple run and gun, kind of throwback, pixel art, just kind of like a chaos game. So it's best played multiplayer, especially 4-player, but crap just blows up everywhere. And as you go through the game, you discover all these different characters, and they're all based off of 80s and 90s action movie people. So there's the Brominator, which is the Terminator. There's Brombo, which is Rambo.
Interesting.
And there's Indiana Bromes, which is Indiana Jones has a whip. Anywho, it's just super good. It's destructible levels. You're trying to play it with your buddies, but since everything's blowing up all the time, you're always accidentally killing each other. And so you accidentally kill each other and you have to revive each other. It's a great party game. I played it online with multiple family members. I played it with my brothers. Grayson loves it. It's the most multiplayer fun I've had in any game since I was in college. So it's simple and it's kind of dumb, but it is super fun, which is the point of video games. And so 87, I have Bayonetta 2.
Good choice.
Which is, again, it kind of speaks for itself, but it's just a hack and slash, beat 'em up with a ton of depth. Very, very stylish. Looks really cool. It's a Switch title.
Only Switch, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's still Switch exclusive. Bayonetta 3 is around the corner.
2 is on the Wii U.
Oh, sorry, Wii
as
U.
well.
Wii U.
And then
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah,
also.
yeah, sorry. Wii U and then Switch.
No
release.
offense, Wii U.
Yeah. It plays great on Wii U as well, but
That's
it's
where I
it's
first
like
played it. Yeah.
it's like a 9.5, 10, something like that game. It's really good.
Yeah.
And you just look at it and you think, how can that game be that good? But it's that good.
I agree. That game is like tons of fun, and I'm not good at those kind of games, so I put it on easy just for people who get overwhelmed with battle systems. I think I'm one of the worst out of the
But
dads,
yeah, you
but I
chain
loved
together
it.
all these combos and you have like a billion moves and it's like way over the top and it's just super cheesy, but it's everything it's supposed to be. Half-Life 2 is what I have at 86.
Very nice.
Probably should be higher than that, maybe on a lot of people's list, but it's a great, PC title. Kind of speaks for itself, and I still go back and play it about once a year. 85, I have StarCraft, which is another PC title.
Yep.
So StarCraft is really the only sort of sim kind of battle game like that, battle.net kind of game that I've ever really gotten into. But I probably put hundreds of hours on it between high school and college. Played it quite a bit. I had a brother who was like professional at it.
I've heard people love the snot out of it.
Yeah, and I only got into it because he was so into it. He's like, hey, let's play, StarCraft or whatever. So like I tried to get good enough to play with him, but just never got good enough. But I still played it a lot and still enjoyed it a lot. And it's very, very, it's a deep game that you can just play forever. Like, if you just had a game to play and had to pick a game to take to Desert Island kind of thing, StarCraft wouldn't be a terrible one to pick. 84, I have Resident Evil 4.
Nice.
Yep. Which version?
If I had to pick a single version...
You don't have to.
No. If I had to pick a single version
as
my favorite version, it'd actually be the Wii version.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good.
just because it makes perfect use of the Wii controller.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually is easier to play on the Wii just because
It
the
is.
controls are just much more intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Which it takes away a little bit of the angst in the game, if that makes sense. It's not
that game scares me. I'll just say it.
It's just, it's scary, but it's like, it's that you don't know what's over there. It's going to take you a while to aim that direction. It takes you a while to turn around. The Wii's more responsive, so it feels like an easier flowing game on the Wii than it does on the GameCube or PS2 or any of the modern consoles, because it's been released on everything at this point, pretty much. But
VR now.
yeah, in VR, and I've played it in VR. I don't know if you have. There's nothing like getting your head cut off in VR. Like, seriously.
Yeah, it was actually too scary for me to play.
Yeah, it's like
Really?
Yeah, because I even played like that roller coaster game or whatnot. What was that?
Terror.
Yeah,
Until Dawn.
or wait, it's like a shooting. It's
Until
a shooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I played that
Rush of
Resident
Blood.
Evil, it was even
Rush of Blood,
scary.
yeah,
I thought it
that's
was
what I'm
even
trying to
scarier. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like
Interesting.
almost
Oh, yeah.
more than I would.
Play
I didn't
one
enjoy
of the
it,
new
to be honest with
Resident.
you.
Yeah, one of the new Resident Evils, Resident Evil, whatever, Biohazard. You know.
Resident Evil 7 and
yeah.
Biohazard.
Play those in
VR.
In VR, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I can't do it.
I do it.
just-
I
can't.
have played them in VR, but I literally can't play more than about 20 or 30 minutes at a time before I gotta
I can feel my heart stopping.
I gotta
like,
well, it's like, it's all that stuff, but
Yeah.
it is in your,
Yeah.
it is so uncomfortably close. Everything that happens to you is
Yeah.
so close. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way I can explain it. Everything's in your personal bubble.
Yeah.
Like movies, I can see people like get their heads chopped off and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's not. It's just whatever. And I know this is
Yeah,
fake.
but it's physically
I know
removed
I know it's
from you.
fake, but
Yeah.
when they jump in
Yeah,
front of me,
when
I
it's-
can't
when it's that
stop.
close.
Like jump back. It's I don't know.
It's the height of terror stuff. Are those games, in my opinion, at least. 83. I'm kind of surprised I put this as low as I did, but I think it needs to belong about here. Is Yoshi's Island.
Okay.
I'm okay. No, I'm just kidding. I know you.
For SNES. It's a great game. It's a game I still go back to and play, with some frequency. Honestly, one for Mario, it might be a little bit higher on the list. But it's such a good game, and every time I play it, I'm always like, "Oh, this is good." But then I get to the level, touch fuzzy, get dizzy, and I'm just like, and it just takes me back, and I'm just like, "Man, that is why this game is so good."
I just love, because Adam, like, this is what's cool about our personal top 100. Like, you're the most. I don't want to say, like, there's not going to be a lot of Yoshi's Island in your top 100, and I would never guess you'd love this game because of, like, the type of games you like and the shooters and everything. And it's like, I love the fact you love Yoshi's Island because it is the most colorful, crazy, like, what
it's like perfect. It's just a
Yeah,
good game.
I really like it.
Yeah.
But and I like platformers. I'm a big platformer guy. So my next game at 82 is the original Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Specifically,
That's a double pick.
Yeah,
Because I picked it last week.
Yeah, that's a
okay.
double pick. Yeah, so
Okay.
this is be specifically the Genesis version
Yeah.
because it had the blood,
Yeah.
and it's the one I played growing up. And we would uppercut. We would always go to the pit and uppercut each other. Trying to fight Scorpion. And then learning all the moves and learning all the fatalities and so on and so forth. And I'm kind of using this as an all-encompassing thing, sort of wrapping up all the early sort of digitized Mortal Kombat. So my favorite one, if I had to go back and play it now, was Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, probably on Saturn.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
But
it's great.
But this is the OG, and
Oh, yeah.
for nostalgia reasons, that's the one I'll have here.
And isn't it fun? Like, that's the one you pick, and that's one of the things about this list is like, no. You end up going for nostalgia over, like, quote
Graphic
unquote,
quality or
the better
whatever.
game.
Yeah, well, I definitely spent a lot more time with the original Mortal Kombat
Right.
than I did
Yeah,
with
same
Mortal
with
Kombat
me.
3 Ultimate. But Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, whether it's the PlayStation version or the Saturn version, just that's the pinnacle right there.
Yep.
81, I have Battletoads for the NES.
Okay.
And again, this is mostly for nostalgia. It's actually a really fun game, but it's a two-player game, but it really needs to be played one player if you're ever going to get anywhere. Yeah, but I remember playing this. So my brothers, I'm 4.5 years older than my next youngest brother, and then my brother behind that's 2 years behind that, so he's 6.5 years younger than me. Just the level of fights that we used to get into over my younger brothers killing me by accident.
Yeah.
when we were younger. I just have a lot of memories over a lot of like heated arguments about accidental deaths and Battletoads.
Those fights start in the second level too, in the pit where you're swinging.
Yeah.
That's where the fights begin.
You start yelling at each other, top of screen, bottom of screen, stay to the left, stay to the right. You know,
funny. But it didn't bother you enough to not have it on the list. That
No,
shows
and
how
it-
strong the game is.
Probably created the memories.
It does,
Yeah.
but graphically, I remember putting this game in when it first came out, just thinking like, "Whoa, this is like a whole nother level of what they can do in video games." Because at the time, and even now, it looks really good for an NES game, but it was like a whole other level of stuff.
It's that parallax scrolling in those NES games.
Yeah,
it's
but it
got
had-
some good in the racing or in the.
Yeah, you're right.
It had those like
Speeder
pseudo
level.
3D backgrounds and
Yeah,
stuff.
it was
Yeah,
sick.
it was a cool game. All right, that's where I stop on this one.
All right.
All right, Sean.
Last ad.
Number 90 is Streets of Rage 4 for the Switch, but with an asterisk, I have not played Shredder's Revenge yet, and I know that I'm going to love that, so maybe Streets of Rage will get replaced as my Switch beat-em-up of choice someday. Number 89, Benjamin, this is from you. Thanks for the recommendation. For the past 6 months, I've played more Red Dead Redemption 2
Oh, yeah.
on the Xbox
Oh, yeah.
One than I have any other game in the past 6
Oh,
months.
awesome.
Oh, yeah, I like
'cause
that game, too.
I forgot. I really told you, and I heard you kind of liked it at first, but I thought you fell off. But
Offline, online with friends. I never play things online with friends too. My schedule's just not compatible. I've gone out of my way to play that online with my friends.
You got a really nice horse.
I have a great horse.
You have a great horse.
wait, what breed of horse you got?
What breed of horse?
Yeah.
I know he's white. I don't remember
Oh,
what breed.
okay. Oh,
But
yeah,
there's
the
different-
Arabian
yeah.
white.
You told me to
Yeah.
go get him. You
Yes.
told me your
Oh,
advice
you had to
was-
go in the mountains to go get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benjamin looked me in the eye and we made powerful contact. He's like, just before you do anything else, you'll thank me later. Go get this horse, and I did, and I am so grateful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's worth it. You have to go and you scout. You put on your
Yeah.
clothes, your warm clothes, and you go and you find this horse. God, you just talking about is bring me to the okay. Keep
It was
going.
it's a good way
going.
to get introduced to all the the mechanics of the game too.
Yeah.
It gave me an instant mission, an instant go to. It was love that game. Great
Awesome.
recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Number 88, Super Dodgeball for the NES.
That's a good game.
If you can see your characters, it's a great game.
Yeah, yeah.
Flicker.
Whole lot of flair. Number 87 is Castle of Illusion for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Nice, easy nostalgia, right? You can go back and sit through and knock it out in an hour or two without.
Did you play that a lot as a kid?
I didn't have a Genesis probably until I was 12 or 13-ish. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a great game. I never played it as a kid, but I wish I did. Those games are great.
I wish I had caught it in the right time frame. I'm
I
sure it would
only-
be higher on my list.
Yeah, I only played that on a kiosk in Sears back when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan of that one. Number 86, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Dreamcast, or I like the Switch. It's just like a straight port on the
Yeah.
Switch, and it runs well, in my opinion. Number 85, Biometal for the Super Nintendo. That's a horizontal shooter. That
Shooter.
kind of
I have
wants
that
to be
game.
R-Type.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good game. I got that randomly and played it and thought it was really good. I didn't expect much.
I didn't either, and I'm not going to have a lot of shooters on this list because I'm bad at them. But that one, I've got nostalgia for, and one I still go back to somewhat regularly. Where is my number 84? My handwriting's terrible. Oh, I say I'm that bad at shooters. I've got two back-to-back. As a kid, I was obsessed with dragons, so Dragon Spirit. I'm going to go... I had
that might make my list.
I had the NES version as a kid, and the NES version music is great, but then it was also the first game as an adult when I got a PC Engine. It was my first PC Engine game I ever played. And again, I was obsessed with dragons. Still am.
That's my favorite music for an NES game.
It's incredible
It
for
is
the
great.
How do they do that?
It's like episodic. I don't know.
And like the opening level and the first true level are so good. After that, it falls off a little bit,
Yep.
but it's
No,
so
I know
good.
exactly what you're saying.
Oh, my heart's. Number 83, Skies of Arcadia, the Legends version for the GameCube, if I had to choose.
Yeah, the superior version.
Good
Yeah,
choice.
it had some advantages, absolutely. Number 82, Wave Race 64.
Ooh, that's a good.
That's going to repeat somewhere along in here, I feel like.
I feel like too. Yeah, that's so
I
great.
don't know. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah.
I feel like it will.
Again, it's one of those like I went through the library and I was like, yep, and then I would go through others and I was like, oh yeah, no, Wave Race 64. I played that is a huge nostalgia pick.
It's still the best On water
race.
racer. Yeah.
Yeah.
This many years later.
I don't know. I liked Hydro Thunder.
Hydro Thunder.
You think you like Hydro Thunder better?
In the arcade with the
Man,
fan
I don't
blowing
know,
like
dude.
air in your face while you're playing.
I think it's almost to me, not to say apples and oranges. I like them both, but for different reasons. Like Hydro Thunder is an arcade racer. Wave Race, like the water felt like ice, real water.
That's
like
true.
it felt like its own character. And if you hit the wave wrong, anyway, I would stay in Dolphin Park and just F around all the time.
Oh, yeah,
I wouldn't
man.
even race. I'd just be in Dolphin Park. I'd set it for no limit, or I'd set a maximum time limit.
Yeah, set the waves high.
Yeah, who was your favorite wave racer? Whatever they're called, person. You just picked it. Right?
I can't even think off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look and physically see. I think hopefully that would trigger some nostalgia for the right person.
Well, you can put in your you name them yourself. Like it was one of the first N64 games you could like name. So they had generic names. But I remember going back to the cart. I still have like a girl I kind of liked in middle school or whatever, like as the character there, and I haven't changed it. And then I had my neighbor buddy, like my friend who I'm still friends with this day. He's like number 3. And then because the last guy was kind of fat, I picked a big kid in class, and that's his name, and I've left it there. And then I was like Benjamin up there 3. Sorry.
I assume
hard nostalgia for me too, obviously.
For naming as a child, I always just picked the most generic people names possible, so they would be like a Bill or a Paul. But I'd have to go physically look at the character and try to like trigger which one I use. But that announcer, man, made me want to keep going.
Oh yeah, what God, yeah, he was random as heck.
That was like weirdly great announcing in a video game.
Right.
And then number 81 is Batman Arkham City, but specifically on the Wii U, because I think it's one of the few games that does a good job of like using the gamepad.
Agreed.
In a pretty interesting, kind of fun way that's not
you
a
had that last
Yeah,
week?
that was a repeat.
I thought you had Arkham Asylum.
He was torn, but I think
I
went City.
I went City. Yeah.
You did. You're right. You did go City. Arkham City. Okay.
Hey, if you like using the gamepad for the Wii U, but you don't want to be forced to use it, but you like having it as like an accessory, Arkham City.
All right. Cool. And that's funny. That makes us 3 repeats so far. Inside with 2, OG Mortal Kombat with 2, and Arkham City with 2. I love it because it's not like Tetris for the Game Boy or Super Mario World yet. I think that's all coming, of course. But that's kind of fun to keep up with at home and see. Again, we've gotten down 20 down. Not bad, guys. We took that Band-Aid off. We're down to 80 left between the 4 of us.
Groovy.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll pick our next 10, I guess, on the next episode. So I think it's about that time. Do you guys know what time I'm talking about? The Handheld Holla. All right, so Handheld Holler.
Look at that wavelength.
Yeah, I like that. So Handheld Holler is where we pick a handheld game to throw out to you guys because the handhelds don't get, I think Benjamin says, enough love.
Yeah, they don't give enough love. And no rules against this one. It can be expensive. It can be popular. It can be unpopular. It just needs to be on a handheld. That's all. A handheld gaming console. Like, hey, let's play that cereal game. Like, say like Game Boy.
Game Boy.
Game Boy Advance.
Steam Deck.
Game Boy Color. Can't repeat.
Atari Lynx.
Oh, and he's loose.
Game Gear.
Do you remember that when you did like types of cereal and then you play that at like camp and stuff?
Yeah, I did it at a party once and I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why we hadn't played that game in 40 years, guys. Let's never do that again.
And I drew such a blank when you pointed at me. I didn't even remember that I was on a podcast for a second.
I know, it's because I pointed, right? Do you guys, everybody who just listened, you know that game where you like go around and you have to like do it and someone points to you and you're like, you can't think of another, oh gosh, what's another type of car? Oh shoot!
The pointing is so impactful. I just had to do my like CPR and first aid training, and they're like, man, when you point at somebody, you catch their attention whether you want to or whether they want you to or not.
Yeah,
so point at people.
You CPR train. Oh yeah, that's right. You gotta.
Now you pointed at me, and I was like, I gotta call 911.
All right, guys. So Handheld Holla picks for episode 66. Who would like to go first?
Go ahead, Sean. You got one?
I'm feeling pretty blue this week because it's maybe not to try to compare ages or anything. I'm a little younger than you guys, and the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Died recently, and that was a very big part of my childhood. So this week I spent some time playing Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Tournament 2004 on the Game Boy Advance in mourning. And I'm going to try to pronounce his name. Kazuki Takahashi?
Sounds good to me.
The creator of Yu-Gi-Oh!
That sounds super good. I don't even know what it is, man. I'm sorry. Is that a card game?
It's a card game.
Yeah,
Okay.
Konami.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the original in the comics, it was super duper crazy. But what ultimately like filtered down to the TV show and video games here was a card game.
Very nice.
All right, Michael?
Mine is for the Game Gear. It's actually one of the more popular games, but that actually I played as a kid, and it's Sonic 2 on Game Gear. I realized we hadn't picked that, and I think it's perhaps there's some people who don't know that actually came out on Game Gear, and it's actually a completely different game than the actual Genesis version, with its own levels and different types of enemies and bosses. So if you do like Sonic and want kind of a different experience, I can remember as a kid having the actual Sonic game portable and in color was pretty awesome, and I played a lot of it on road trips. So that's my pick.
Cool. Me? Okay. I'm going to go with a 3DS game, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
That's a
think
good one.
Been picked.
Oh, I don't think so, but that's a good game.
Yeah. So this was the team that recently got broken up. They did Mario and Luigi's Dream Team, Paper Jam, Superstar Saga, the remake. Bowser's Inside Story, I don't know if that's something you can download now on the Switch or anything, but I do know on the 3DS it is an amazing game. It is part of that whole RPG light kind of...
Yeah, it's the developers Alpha Team or something like that.
Yeah.
They're all really good.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful game. A lot of comedy, lighthearted. If you like the Paper Mario type games, you'll like this one. I don't want to harp too long on it, but really fun game. If you love the Mario Universe games, give this one a try. It's obviously not like a traditional platformer, but the story, the writing, I won't spoil it. It kind of gives a pun in the title that tells you where it's going. It's kind of pricey now, so sorry about that unless you download it. You can download it on the 3DS as long as you have a gift card. You can't use your credit card information, but on the 3DS you can just download a Nintendo gift card and still download it as of this recording for the next like 6-9 months. So, but otherwise, sorry, it's like a $60 game. It's kind of expensive, and that's cart only, I think, or maybe it's CIB. I'm not sure. It's expensive.
All right, I'm going to cheat because I finally got my Steam Deck in the mail.
Oh, okay.
So there's ordering it, waiting a year, finally got the thing in. I've downloaded a few games. There's a game that I've played on Steam quite a bit over the last few years that I don't ever hear anybody talk about or mention, and it's Jamestown. It's Jamestown or Jamestown Plus is what they call it now, but this is a shmup, a shoot 'em up, a shooter. It's a spaceship shooter. It's set in a alternate reality colonial America where we're being invaded by space aliens.
Huh.
And there's 4 different ships, 4 main characters, 4 different play styles, and I won't get into the mechanics of it too much, but it is a really fun game. It has pixel art graphics. It's real simple to pick up and play. It's very easy to play. It's very hard to get good at and play on high difficulty levels, but it's very accessible and easy to play on early or on easy difficulty levels. But it scales. You start easy and you work your way harder and you get better and better at it. So if you're looking to get into shooters, shoot 'em ups, that kind of thing, this is a great entry point. As far as these kinds of games go, I think it runs $20 when it's not on sale. Sometimes it goes on sale and it's like $10. And it's also available on PS4. I know for sure. It's probably on Xbox and PC. But super good game. It's not really a Airfingers quote portable game, but it is now because they have Steam Deck, so I'm picking it.
I thought you were going to pick like GTA 5 online or something.
No, I am going to play some Airfingers quote AAA games on it. That's probably too much of a cheat, but I wanted to mention Jamestown just because a lot of people shooters or shoot 'em ups are very like they're hard to get into because people go, oh, what should you play? And people say things like, oh, you should play R-Type. And R-Type is so punishingly difficult that people can't ever get over the hurdle of like even becoming fans of the genre because they could barely beat the first level of the game. And they're just, but this game is a game that you can pick up and play and make good progress in, and it will teach you how to play shooters.
I've never even heard of it till today.
Yeah,
so
and it's a really good game. So yeah, if that sounds like your cup of tea and you have a PC or a PS4, or I assume it's on Xbox too. I don't know that for a fact, but you should pick it up and play it because it's very good for that type of thing.
Hey, in our inaugural Steam Deck pick, it's been a while since we've had a new handheld pick, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Real quick though, too, I think since you got a new system and we're not doing that very much anymore. What's your hot takes on the Steam Deck?
I've only had it for a day and a half.
Yeah. What's your early?
I really like it. It's I mean, they say it's roughly the power of a PS4 Pro or so.
Wow.
But it's a handheld PC essentially. It runs like a Linux operating system, but at least out of the box, it basically is Steam, which is Valve's proprietary like game delivery software. So it wants to be connected to the internet and that kind of thing. Downloads really easy. It boots really easy. Boots fast. The screen looks really nice on it. There are games, because PC games there's like bazillions of them, right? Like thousands and thousands and thousands of games. So they have games that have been tested and are known to interact with the Steam Deck and play on it really well, and even have preset configurations for playing on Steam Deck. And there's hundreds and hundreds, thousands of games that have already met that criteria. But you can download any game on it and try it, just like you could on any PC. So it's already got it's basically a new piece of hardware that already has, literally thousands of games available for it, at launch, which is pretty neat. The other cool thing about Steam Deck that I've not got into at all yet is it's an open source platform, meaning you can put any software on it that you want. You can put Windows on it. You can put a different version of Linux on it. You can put emulators on it. You can put basically anything you want to on it. So I've not messed with it enough to do any of that stuff yet, but you can basically use it as a PC. You can plug it into your TV. You can watch movies off of it. You can stream off of it. You can do anything you could on any other computer. And that's pretty neat as far as, its capabilities and what you can do with it.
Yeah.
Because you can make it do anything you want to do. And it'll play all the, modern games pretty much up to most of the AAA, high graphics requirement titles. It's probably going to be a little bit dated, within a year or two. But I mostly play 2D platformers and that kind of stuff on PC anyway, so it's going to be fine for me. I think going forward. But it's a nice, slick little package, and it feels good.
Yeah. I held it too. I thought it felt nice. I liked that it didn't go super glossy. Like it felt like it was worth a lot, but also not like the weird kind of obscure like a PS Vita or first gen PS3 where it's like, hey, it's pricey. I'm going to make it feel that way. Like it felt like it's not going to be easily scratched or something like that. Like it, but still felt like a quality piece of machinery, which is what I've heard they break out. Did you ever get the controller from Valve? Was that good too?
So I have, I don't know, 3 or 4 Steam controllers, I think, floating around here, which I got online yesterday and people were talking about buying them on eBay for like $120. Oh. I remember when they were giving Steam controllers away practically on Steam. Right. They were $9.99. Like,
is that the one with the weird D-pad?
Yeah, so it's got 2 touch screens on the side, and it's kind of a weird D-pad and this kind of thing.
But how do you feel about the D-pad personally?
I don't like the Steam controller very much personally, probably because I just haven't messed with it enough. And I play with it on my virtual pinball machine. Like if I'm playing Spaceship Shooters, that's the controller I use over there. But on the Steam Deck, there are also 2 touchpads, 2 analog sticks, and then all your regular configuration of buttons like you would on an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller, except you also have 2 top triggers and 2 bottom triggers.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So there's a ton of buttons on it. But most games only use, as many as it. Basically, the games that are already configured for Xbox controllers, the same configuration carries over to the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And if you're playing things like real-time strategy games or whatever where you need a mouse, there's 2 touchpads which also have directional capabilities with touch. So I don't really use those all that much, but a lot of people really like them. I suppose one of these days I'll force myself to play a first-person shooter game where I have to do that, and it also has a gyroscope in it too, where you can aim on first-person shooters by moving the Steam Deck up and down, back and forth, and that kind of thing. Fun. And a lot of people really like that. To me, it sounds disorienting, but but supposedly if you play like that for very long, you get really good at it. But basically, it configures and plays really well, from what I can tell so far.
Nice. All right. Okay, guys. Well, what do you say? I think we're about turning into pumpkins for this episode 66. Anything else you guys want to put in? We were going to talk a little bit more about a few more things.
We need to pick book club.
Oh, book club picks.
Yeah, just real
That's
fast.
right. No, thank you so much. We normally do this. We normally do this during the thing, so it's going to be at the end. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So whose pick is it?
I went last.
All right, and we're picking anything
before that with Blitz.
I think it's mine. Yeah. Yeah. So Video Game Book Club picks. It is my turn, and of course, thank you, Adam, for realizing that. This is, guys and ladies, whoever's listening, this is what's called parent brain, dad brain. We love our children, but also, we're all getting closer to the midlife crisis. There's so much to do. You're always going to forget something. If you're one of those listeners that doesn't have kids yet, oh my God, just enjoy it.
This is the podcast equivalent of looking for your keys and then realizing they're in your left hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is exactly it. Yeah. Actually, that'd be a great name for this podcast if we didn't do Video Game Dads.
That's the subtitle.
Yeah. It's like, where are my glasses? They're on your head, idiot. All right, so our Video Game Book Club picks. Let's do our listener pick, all right? Drum roll. Put this in a randomizer, and I didn't know what this was. Running Wild for the PS1. This initially, I'm like, this has to be an RPG. It's not. It's like a racer. It's a racing video game that came out in 1998 for the Sony PlayStation 1. All I know is it's from 989 Studios, and it's a racing game called Running Wild, and it has to do with animals. I have no clue.
I had 0% ever heard of this. Is 989 Studios the people who picked up the Twisted Metal games, like 3 and 4, maybe?
I think so. They did like some Sony sports games.
Yeah, they did.
Back in the day. Yeah.
So they have some reputable stuff to their
Oh, yeah.
name?
They were like first party, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
no kidding.
Studio.
No, yeah. Back in the PlayStation days, because it would be 9.
They did the
9
NFL Game Day
Studios.
games, didn't they?
They did the what?
NFL Game Day.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. 989 did a lot. We'll figure it out on our next episode of like what. But their studio did like a lot of other non-sports games too. I just off the top of my head can't remember. But Running Wild was evidently one of them. And James liked it. And since this was back before I put in the spiel about why James liked Running Wild, we'll have to figure it out. So James, thanks. That's definitely a 3-year-old pick that was stuck in there. Okay, and so Running Wild is our listener pick for next episode, number 67. And my pick, I felt like a superhero game, and it's a game I have not played and I heard is good, and that normally isn't synonymous with recent video games. All the Marvel games, evidently, that they don't even make them anymore, but the movie tie-ins were not that great. But I heard good things about Captain America's Super Soldier for the PlayStation 3. Game kind of loosely based off the movie. That's all I heard. I heard it's great. You can pick it up on Xbox 360 or the PS3. Out of all the Marvel games, which I don't know, there's like 10 of them, I heard this one's like one of the best. So, and none of us have played it before.
I have not.
Yeah. So,
and didn't Marvel like have like the rights belonged to somebody, and then they were running out, and whoever that was started kind of cramming in some real bad Marvel games at the end of their license?
That is what I heard too, like right before they lost it. And then all of a sudden, well, now of course there's the Avengers movie, there's a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so I guess there was a 10-year drought where they weren't that great, but I've heard the Guardians of the Galaxy is really great. But I have
Marvel
not played
Ultimate
it.
Alliance 3 was really good too. That came out recently.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess
like top 100 great.
Not top 100
okay.
great, but good if you like the Marvel
That's
Ultimate
my
Alliance
favorite
games.
style of game. I love. We talked about. What did we talk about?
No,
X-Men
it's really good
Legends
though. I've
recently,
played it a fair bit. It's good.
All right. Well, I guess then at least from that weird period in the late aughts and early teens where there wasn't many good games, they were kind of throwaway titles. This one was supposedly good, even though it kind of seemed like it wasn't. So we will find out. Definitely not in the top 15%. So Captain America Super Soldier, see if you can pick it up for the Xbox 360 or PS3. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Hey, give us a review on iTunes if you so like. Thanks so much again, you guys. We're just a humble bunch of guys that for the past 5 years have been trying to pump out some content to you somewhat regularly. We hope you're doing well. We hope with everything going on in the world, you are finding your peace, and we enjoy being a little part of that. So thank you so much. Have a great day, evening, night, end of your work shift, and we will see you next time. All right. Episode 66.
It's in the books.
In the books.
All right, thanks.